The following program deals with a controversial
subject.
The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation.
The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
the top talents in the comic book business are here to tell everything they know.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Tuesday night, another Industry of Comics. This is episode 68. One away from our special episode that everybody's waiting for to make jokes about, and we will join in on the fun, I imagine. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Very good. Good.
Where are the gentlemen?
Fantastic.
We're just listening to Dennis talk about the zit on his face.
But you don't point it out.
Stop it, man.
You
Be
don't
a
point it
man.
out.
Be a man. Cowboy up. Cowboy up. Like I
All right,
said,
here, let me
some
just pop
scissors.
it live
Yeah.
on. Let me pop it live on the show.
No,
here.
we don't need any of that. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. So, our very interesting show tonight, you guys. We're just kind of doing a little update on all the news and notes around the industry. And there's been quite a few stories pop up over the last week that we're going to be going over. Of course, we'll be talking about the DC Comics / Warner Brothers reorg, I guess they're kind of calling it. And they have a 10-year plan for DC Comics and studios, properties and stuff. We'll be talking about that. We've got all kinds of news, more news in the Diamond fallout, and which is very
how is
interesting.
This even still a thing, Brian?
I know, dude. I know. Well, here's what's funny. We say, how is this even still a thing? But we're going to be talking about it again next week when we'll hopefully have a very special guest coming on the show.
Yep.
Yeah. So that'll be a very interesting episode, to say the least. I'm really looking forward to that and having her on. So, and then we will also be talking about a news story that some people might not even be aware of. Darren from Unknown Comics, Darren Hutchinson from Unknown Comics, recently put out a quote-unquote State of the Union of Unknown Comics video, which was very interesting to say the least. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and whatever else pops up on the show. So,
Hey, are we going to talk about Mark Millar controversy, or did we already talk about that?
what are you talking about? The people trying to
Cancel
boycott?
Chrononauts?
Yeah, Chrononauts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I want to talk about it just because this is like the perfect segue from what we talked about 2 weeks ago, which is, why are there no fucking contracts in this business? I mean, I
there
understand
are contracts in the business. It's just
But
a lot of people, the 99% of them don't have them. It's just the 1% that have contracts that everybody flips out on. I think that's kind of weird, right?
I mean, I understand at a certain publisher's level, you don't have the time to have a lawyer draft a new contract and or the money sometimes, but this is Dark Horse.
Right.
This is
There should be a standard contract that you just
Yeah.
take some name out of and change the date. I mean, standard contracts are pretty basic in any industry as a whole when you're dealing with people.
So let's talk about what's going on here. Dark Horse had recently announced that Mark Millar's Chrononauts Library Edition is new this week, wherever you buy books. And it was responded to by Matt Hollingsworth, who is he the, what is he, the colorist? Okay, colorist.
colorist.
And he
Yes.
says, no thanks, don't buy this. I received no money. And then he put out a post on his own, it looks like, saying, I don't want to be associated with this comic and won't receive money if you buy it. So please boycott it. And a lot of fans replied to it. Tom Carter said, what happened behind this comic? Matt said, nothing special, garbage writing, just Millar writing IP he can sell later, and he refused to pay me royalties. Sean stepped up and paid me extra out of his money to make up for the lack of royalties and being loyal to Sean. I colored it. And then he said Mark Millar doesn't consider colorists worth paying royalties to, or at least didn't when I colored this. And he says, I get royalties on almost everything I work on, including from big publishers. I'll never work with Millar again. Only did this out of a sense of loyalty to Sean, who I was working with at the time. Bleeding Cool or Comics Beat says Hollingsworth is one of the most prolific colorists in the last 20 years, and it's a real shame to see this play out in public. He says Mark Millar doesn't consider colors worth paying royalties, or at least he didn't when I colored it. That's a major comment right there. And has Mark come out and said anything about this yet?
Not that I've seen. Has anybody seen it?
I haven't seen anything from him.
But I'll tell you what, Shane Davis, the reason this caught my attention was I saw Shane Davis talking about it. And he had said that the industry as a whole had decided that colorist was upon the level of inker, and that they would be treated as more of a work for hire, and that it would come out of like the inker's cut of the royalties, and it was up to the inker to include the colorist on that project. I don't know how accurate that is, but contracts, people, contracts. If you don't have a contract that says you get a nickel later, then why am I listening to this?
But I can tell you, I know a few smaller inkers who have contracts with royalties, and the check is the company just won't send it to you. Like DC just, they print one of your books that you worked on it. Maybe it's an anthology or a larger piece, and you only have a small piece of it, and they just won't send you a check, and you can write them forever, and they just don't care. They just won't answer you. I mean, even if it's in your contract, sometimes you can't even collect on it. It's what's worth suing for, right? So if it's like a $300 check, it's not going to be worth suing for.
And I'm not trying to trash on colorists. Clearly, there's some amazing colorists, there's some good colorists, and then there's some, meh colorists. But I've never bought a comic book because of the colorist.
Right.
This is a real quick. Well, let's take since you brought up Shane Davis. Let's take a quick.
Like I said, he had the take on this that drew it to my attention. Sorry.
Yeah. So let's take a quick check in on his little video about it. Shout out to Shane Davis
that have stepped out of doing comics to do video game work and stuff like that because they're afraid of being canceled. It is true. The way, if you've been in the American comic book industry, the risk versus reward of working for almost minimum wage salaries at Marvel and DC, and your name being broadcasted out there with these flagship characters that are getting box office, movies and all of that stuff, and then you get canceled. So then there's a headline out there, the artist is so-and-so character that everybody knows, but never read the book, sees your name there being canceled. There are creators I can attest to that are like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it putting my head in that guillotine. It's just a matter of time, especially if you don't have the pronouns, if you don't have the right skin color, if you don't have the right sexual identity and all of that stuff. And then there's a matter of time that even if you're not being canceled, you're just not going to get hired because they're celebrating a certain demographic that month. And, you're problematic. Now, this article was June 2025. Okay. Now, this is about a book. Is it 2016? It was originally published through Image Comics, right?
And here's the interesting thing. Is Image right now putting out all these facsimiles, and that's why this is popping back up? Or is it because Dark Horse is putting out...
Well, this is Dark Horse. First of all, this is Dark Horse.
Wasn't this originally put out through Image, like he said? So...
Yeah.
Oh, was this an Image?
It was published through Image Comics. So I want to point out one interesting thing, though. So you have over here Rich Johnson talking about this whole comics gate circuit that Mark Millar has been going on. And then you have Dark Horse talking about, oh, by the way, here's our library edition of Chrononauts. It's after
published through Image. And for people who don't know, Mark Millar left Image to go to Dark Horse, and this was around the same time that Image was talking about, what was it? They were wanting a union, right, of creators, not creators, actually employees that would gatekeep, basically, and police.
They literally said that they want to be able to decide which books can be printed at Image. Like, hello, you are the employee, and you want to tell people who can come in here and print books. Like,
Yeah.
So shout out to Shane Davis. Go check it out. I tried to bring it up and just blindly bring it up, but I can't find the spot where Dennis is talking about. So
he talked about a common practice where the colors comes out of the inker's cut, and it's up to the inker. But what I think has happened here was clearly Millar started with Image and then moved to Dark Horse. Whatever deal is at Image, it's up to that deal to go over there. And if you don't have it in a contract in writing, it just goes to what we keep saying, guys. You can't treat this like a clubhouse. This is a business. This is an industry. If you do any work in an industry, any industry that you don't have a contract for, you're going to get screwed like this. Yeah. But here's the thing, to trash on Millar, because clearly, it's Millar took it over there and Millar decides who gets cut that aren't in the contract. He clearly didn't think the colors deserved a cut. The work's already been done, and he doesn't have a contract that says it. You can't just, trash Millar and say, that was a horrible IP script and I did it. It's like, well, then why are you bitching that you're not getting a cut?
Yeah, why did you work on it if it was that poor quality?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're a busboy at a restaurant, you get tips money from your waiter or waitress if you do a good job. But it doesn't say, oh, you get 20% of what the waitress is or a waiter. And some places you get all the change, right? So the busboy gets all the change, and then at the end of the night, if they feel you do a good job, here's an extra 20, right? It's not like I'm saying, well, how much in tips did you get? That's that world.
Mm-hmm.
But in this world, you need to have contracts and understanding of the contract. If you had a contract for Chrononauts at Image, doesn't mean you have a contract for the same book at Dark Horse.
Right.
He doesn't have ownership of that book.
And it also doesn't mean that if Chrononauts gets picked up by Disney tomorrow, you're going to get a nickel more than what you got for doing the coloring then.
Right. Exactly. So, trying to make a point and thinking you're going to get a check for $20, don't think that's going to happen.
It's a lot to do for a little, right? If he's so prolific over 20 years, his library should be so big that he's receiving checks from so many different places, unless he never got it in his contract. And now he's got sour grapes, sees this one coming out and that he's not getting a taste. And he's like shitting on the product.
Right. Yeah. When someone says don't buy this book, that's a problem right there.
Well, here's the thing. Would any of your retailers, would you have even known this project was coming out if he hadn't have made the stink? He kind of Streisand affected this, didn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
This was the tree that was going to fall in the woods, and nobody was going to care until Matt Hollingsworth said, don't buy this book. And I guarantee you people were like, oh, Chrononauts is out. I wanted to pick that up in Library Edition.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these type of things seem to pop up pretty constantly in this industry. And we do talk about it pretty often about how, you got to be careful.
Just what kind of numbers do you think that'll do? If nobody said anything, how many think that it would sell? 5,000?
Well, it's already coming out, so that means retailers already placed their orders.
Right.
Dark Horse is with Lunar, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So my guess, 2,000 units across 1,200 retailers, tops.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be as high as 5,000, but I was thinking maybe bookstores and all that. Maybe. What's the cut? $10 a book? Maybe not even. Maybe
not
$5. $5 a book.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dark Horse gets their cut, and there's not much to pass around anyway.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if Mark Millar responds to it in any way.
I would bet not.
he's been on fire over there. He had obviously Rob Liefeld on a couple weeks ago. He had Joe Madureira on last week, and this week he's got Steve Englehart on. He's just on to the next one, on to the next one. He's still writing. He's doing that great Vatican City book, which I'm enjoying right now. Really good, premise and storyline that I think is going to be obviously, Mark is very, cued in on what, option stuff he's got going next in Vatican. That Vatican book definitely feels like option territory. So
he gets
we'll
a lot
see
of
how that
stuff
plays
made,
out.
but he doesn't have the hit parade like Kirkman does.
I don't know. I kind of think they're neck and neck as far. I mean, not dollar for dollar, but
Garth
Kirkman
Ennis
really
has a better track record than Millar.
I think Kirkman only has 3 major projects. Plus, I think he had Outcast, so that's like 4.
But one lasted like 12 years.
Oh, no. I mean, like I said, not dollar for dollar, but
Yeah.
I mean, Kingsman, they've made 3 movies off of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, the first one did big money. The second one, I don't know what it did, but it kind of introduced me to Pedro Pascal.
Well, let's name some of these, okay, for Mark. You've got Wanted, Superman Red Son, Kingsman, Kick-Ass, Nemesis. He wrote Ultimate Fantastic Four, Captain America Civil War.
You're missing the big one.
Logan, Old Man Logan.
The Ultimates literally launched the entire MCU.
Yep. So I think that a lot of people forget, everything that he has been part of.
I know he was part of a lot. I was talking about his own intellectual property.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he broke a Guinness Book of World Records a couple years ago.
Oh,
but that was beaten by someone. That's right. I forgot.
Oh,
that's who I beat out my Guinness Book of World Records. I'm like, if he ever sees me, and then of course he doesn't care, right?
No.
Probably forget that he even did it. So.
Yeah. All right. Next bit of news. Big story coming out of Warner Brothers. DC Comics has new owners at Warner's, and they've got a new 10-year plan over there where they're splitting into 2 studio groups, I guess, or groups. They're splitting into a streaming and studios group and a global networks group, and which is very interesting. And David Zaslav is overseeing the streaming and studios group, which is what the comics is going to fall under. And supposedly they have a 10-year plan to sharpen the focus over at DC Comics and boost some shareholder value, I guess, and grow their brands even more, which is very interesting. They have the Superman and the Supergirl movies coming out. But I don't know. Did you guys check out this article? What did you guys think of this?
I think it's pretty... I think because I come from a fast-paced corporate background, where if someone says to me they got a 10-year plan in digital or in anything like that, I'm like, that should be like a 6-month plan in this day and age, not 10 years. And what, are you waiting for quantum to come out, for AI? I mean, you should be on the go on day one with maybe a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. In the comic book world, who has 10-year plans? That's crazy.
Well, here's the interesting thing. So it's going to cause what they're doing here is they're splitting off into 2 publicly traded companies, and it's tax-free. It's a tax-free transaction.
Tax-free, because of the way they're doing it.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. The streaming studios will be Warner Brothers Television, Warner Brothers Pictures, HBO Max, DC Studios and Comics, and then global networks will be CNN, TNT Sports, Discovery, and more. And that will be run by Gunnar Weidenfels. So that's kind of interesting.
The question is, who's actually going to end up running DC Comics? That's what's important to us.
As of right now, David Zaslav's got the whole overview of that side. He said that he's very excited about Superman and Supergirl. He's want to focus on growing the comic side, which is interesting. You don't hear that very much from anybody.
True.
Over at DC or for the longest time. And they're saying it should be a more streamlined kind of creative synergy. There's no more like delusion across divisions and stuff like that. So,
well, I mean,
sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Go ahead, Dennis.
No, it's just I remember the week that Flash, the TV show, was announced, and DC kind of jumps the gun and says, "Oh, here's our cinematic universe, including the Cyborg movie that never happened, Justice League 2 that never happened, Batman 2, Superman, Man of Steel #2." That was 10 years ago, guys.
Yeah.
How about make a big movie that everyone loves and then start telling us what you're going to do over the next 10 years?
Yeah, and traditionally in retail, that's more anything that is retail oriented in 5-10 years is how many more stores are we going to have? How are we going to evolve our cash registers? Buy online, pick up in store, will that be done by drones, right?
Yeah.
That's your 5 to 10 year plans. Yeah. But when it comes to something that is based on a weekly, a monthly, if you say, well, our 10-year plan is we're going to focus on Superman and Supergirl. Why do you need 10 years to plan that, right?
They've got a Batgirl movie and a Supergirl movie that are in the canon and will never be seen.
Yeah.
Well, my worry is they announced that Vertigo is coming back, and then now they're doing this shuffle. I wonder if that'll kill that in a short period of time. Is like they've already put money into getting it up off the ground, but when this shift happens, if that'll be killed, in 6 or 8 months, or it never actually happened, even though they put money into it.
Well, I told Jesse and Brian this, and we shared that around 10 a.m. yesterday morning, or was it this morning? This 10-year announcement.
That was a couple of days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally that night, I was sleeping, and I had a dream that you, Jesse, me, and George Chase had a meeting with DC, with Warner Brothers. And they said, well, you guys are so smart. Tell us what you would do. And literally the three of us did a presentation. I dreamt the entire presentation. Cereal boxes, 7-Elevens, Slurpee cups. I list the entire full spectrum of everything you need to do. Dollar Tree, boom, boom, boom. And we went through the whole list, and they're like, you know what? You're the only people that said that. You're hired. And then I wake up in the morning, and we had 5 years to do it. I think you can do it in 5. I don't know how you need 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, because a lot of this business is based on what retailers do, right? When it comes to comic books, their job is just to wholesale and not really retail to retailers. And then based on our success is how that part of the business is successful. But when they look at other platforms to sell on or where to sell at, whether it be a Dollar Tree, Dollar General, supermarkets and all that, that's where they can really get a good advantage on these 3-year plans, these 5-year plans. Why aren't there more shirts and Spencer gifts and XYZ? What can we do to better our community outreach? You never really hear about community outreach, right?
Here's the interesting thing. You brought up the the Batgirl stuff. A little bit about David Zaslav. He's the guy that kind of is credited for all the success for Discovery Network and Discovery Channel. And then he was the guy that engineered the merger with Warner Brothers and Discovery. So he's got some major wins, but when it comes to losses, he's got the Batgirl cancellation, and he axed the project. He's known for slashing staff across all divisions that he's overseeing, and a lot of people say the streaming problems that have happened over the years with HBO, Cinemax or Max, Warner Brothers, DC is all because of him. And that's pretty interesting. And he had a writers and an actors strike response that didn't go over well. So
Yeah. Well, and nothing for nothing, but I love how this is a 10-year plan. And if you've watched my public domain video, they're going to start losing everything in the next 9 to 10 years. Do you think that also has something to do with that 10-year plan?
They won't lose absolute Batman.
Yeah.
But
I
if there's 20 Batman horror movies based off of,
Yeah.
Based off the original Batman.
Yep.
What is this, Dennis? This is a 4 years ago, a list of every DC project that is basically.
Yeah. But I mean,
Dunzo.
no, well, it was a list made when there was still a bunch of these things were still active and alive. The Static Shock movie, that's gone. Zatanna movie, that's gone. Batgirl movie, that got canned. Plastic Man never started. Our Man, gone. Dead Man, gone. I don't know if any of these animations ever happened. But, see what I'm saying? It's like Dead Boy Detective, that's gone.
Yeah, so
it's like
a chart like this. I will tell you, I'm just going to tell you from my understanding, from my background, we would always do something like this to get the 5 things we wanted, right? And we would show the first thing the guy would say is, why is Our Man on there? Well, we can take Our Man on there, but we're really focusing on Superman. Well, you got Zatanna. Well, we can take Zatanna off if we can get Supergirl, right? And so when you see charts like this, they are made for a purpose at the end to get the 10 things they really want. But if you went in with the 10 things to whoever in upper management, they're going to knock you down to 5 right off the bat. So you go in with 40 to get your 10. And I think that's what you're kind of seeing in that chart there. So
the problem is that when you promise all of that stuff, the second you start knocking them off is when you piss off the actors, and then they start revolting against you. And that's what I think happened with Ray, what's his name? Cyborg. The second he knew that Cyborg movie was never happening, and that's what he was promised, that's when he turned on Jeff Johns. That's when he turned on Zack Snyder, all of these people, and Joss Whedon especially. And then everything starts falling apart. Then you're not going to get anything made.
Yeah. It's happened with multiple actors and multiple studios over the last couple of years. Yep. So it's
it's all reactionary. So what we want to see over the next couple of months, what does Marvel announce? Or hey, we got this 9-year and 364-day plan, right?
But here's the thing. Marvel's coming up on 20 years of just knocking this shit out of the park.
Right.
Well, if they don't start putting skins in comics for rivals, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Because those Fortnite skins sold like crazy. And so many people came in that had never been in a comic shop and bought the whole series, signed up, paid for everyone. I never saw them again after that, but maybe 1 or 2 of them I seen back, but
I think part of that also is we don't know the kind of structures of Marvel Comics dealing with a video game company and what that entails. I know that when I talked to Marvel Publishing about doing something with that I wanted to do something with that VR game that they had that was kind of off to the side at San Diego one year. Do you remember that, Jesse?
Yep. Yep.
And they were like, that's the video game division. That's a whole different place. We have nothing to do with those guys other than when they say we want a space and Disney tells us to give them a space, they get a space. And I was like, oh, okay. So, it might be more difficult than we think it is.
Yeah, it's just like the ad division in a comic book.
Right.
You have no idea what's in the comic book. They just know page 12, 16, and 22 has to be sold.
Yeah. And if Hostess comes to you and says, draw an ad of Spider-Man eating a cherry pie, you draw Spider-Man eating a cherry pie because Hostess asked for it.
Yep.
Yeah. You don't see very many of those advertisements, that's for sure, anymore.
No.
So,
Print runs are not big enough.
Yeah.
The sales are not big enough, you said?
No.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because they can't guarantee the sell through, right? They can say, oh, we sold 75,000, but their corporations are pretty sharp. They're like, yeah, but there's only you're really only selling 45 of those 75.
Yeah. It's very interesting when it gets to numbers. It's just like NASCAR, right? People say, why is that guy sponsoring that guy? He's never won a race before. Yeah, but he crashes every race. And we get 15 minutes of them towing that car with our logo on it. And so that's how people look at that.
Yeah. Well, that's the DC Warner Brothers news. It's funny because where's shout out to Leatherhead for Hire. He says, "What up, old farts? Hope you're all doing well." That's a little a little take on a comment that was recently dropped in a recent episode. I do want to say that over the next month and a half or so until San Diego, we're going to be having a lot of the new kids on the block joining us on the show. We're going to be talking to 3 or 4 new brick and mortar store owners and retailers that are doing an amazing job, have very successful stores and stories, and are new to the industry within the last 4 or 5 years.
I thought we were going to get Donnie Wahlberg. Damn.
And we'll see how that plays out for everybody that's thinks that we're a bunch of old farts in here, and we only think about things that we learned 30 years ago.
What's funny about that is when you do talk to these new guys, and because I know most of them, they'll call you and they'll ask you a question, and you'll think in your head that's the stupidest question ever, or at least for the day, right? And then you realize they're a new store owner, and you explain it to them, and they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." So we're always coaching these younger stores so that they can coach people down the road. But it is funny because a lot of them fall for the same pitfalls we fell for 20, 30, 40 years ago. And I think that's kind of funny. I think it is funny that when people do mention people have been collecting less years than we've been retailing, welcome to the comic book world.
It's going to be very interesting because I think that some of these new kids on the block are going to say a few things that's going to surprise you guys, and you guys are going to go, "That's a great idea. That's something I haven't heard before." Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that's why you're always injecting new, diverse people to get diverse views,
right,
about how things are done.
Yes. Yeah, and right, exactly. And people that are the best people in this industry that are people that are failed, that they failed more than they've been successful, but their success outweighs how many times they failed. And as long as you're able to come out and say, "Hey, I effed up. This is how we're fixing it, and this is
fail small, win big."
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So big shout out to Steven over at Most Wanted Comics, Lance over at High Score Comics, and Kevin over at Collector's Choice Comics, who will be hopefully on the shows within the next month or so.
Just goes to the Gary Reed rules: give your knowledge and experience freely. But that's a two-way street.
Yes, it is.
We learn just as much from the young kids that are come up with new ideas than they can learn from our old ideas.
Yep.
And I will steal them as fast as I can.
So, all right, let's we got quite a bit to talk about for more info on the diamond fallout. There has been quite a few stories that have popped up over the last week and a half or so. We really tried to get Heidi McDonald on with us tonight to kind of talk about this a little bit. We're shooting for next week. I'm really looking forward to having her on. She's another one of the great journalists in this industry, likes of Rich Johnson, who, it was an honor to have him on and come talk to us. I'm really looking forward to meeting Heidi and, hearing her take on the whole diamond bankruptcy and the fallout of everything, because as Dennis said in a conversation we had, she's kind of been really spot on her takes over the last couple months or longer on this whole thing.
Yeah, and plus I think she's a historian looking in. Us as retailers can say, yeah, we're historians, been doing this since 1982, but I'm looking from a glass jar basically of how it works and all that, where she can look in with a free mind saying, oh, well, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. And that's the challenges we face being in the retailer world.
Yep. Well, and it's also that other dynamic that we don't have. She's literally the toughest broad in an all boys club, and yep. She survived as many years as she's been hanging around these guys. So I kind of love to get that perspective from her all the time when I talk to her.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's get into it. This whole, a lot of recent news in the whole, diamond bankruptcy fallout. There is a great timeline over at Bleeding Cool, yeah. Who they've just been doing a really great job. You guys can go check it out over there. Just search Diamond Timeline over in Bleeding Cool, and you'll find out. But there was some new news recently, quite a bit of new news recently that kind of popped out. One being that this one was very interesting to me. That I want to start off with. This is the recent Diamond Previews magazine, which a lot of people are saying is going to be probably the last one. Look at this. Like, no covers to be revealed. The only real publisher that was in there was Boom Studios, if I'm not mistaken. And
Boom's already pulled it.
Yeah.
Look at this. I mean,
yeah, but I this is where I disagree with this altogether. There's a reason why there's no Sears catalog anymore. We don't need, we're more advanced than needing the previews to go page by page, publisher by publisher, when if you just go to your order form and tag on the item, it gives you all the information right there. So I think this notion where I do hear a lot of people talking about, whoa, there's no more previews, how we then do this? Freaking turn on your computer, turn on your freaking phone. We have advanced farther than that. I get that you like that 260-page book there, but as far as retailers go, that waste our time, because guess what you got to do?
And money.
You got to go through that book, and you still got to go to your computer to order that.
I remember one time they sent that book by itself in a Diamond Medium box, and it cost $25 to receive that free catalog.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you effing me? Or are you serious?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, it's not worth it.
Now, does previews, is that a big moneymaker?
Oh yeah,
Ad Pop?
They collect money from every single one of those people that did not get a picture in there. And when they fired the marketing people and when they fired the IT people, None of those images got plugged in, and they hit the print button without. So they still collected their checks from everybody who had already prepaid for
Oh
those.
yeah, by far.
And if they hadn't published it, they probably owed somebody a refund.
Money, yeah.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
those were probably sold 6 months to a year out.
Right. And if you check your emails, you have an email from every publisher almost every single day saying, "Hey, dude, how come you haven't ordered more big rig books?
Yeah.
Hey, this is what we're doing over here. This is what." So I think the communication world is, and what bugs me is ICV2, please interview someone other than the same two freaking people for the last 27 and a half years. There are other people that have other opinions. I love those two guys. Don't get me wrong.
Have they ever called you, Jesse?
Once. And it was that
zero.
Velika something that did an article back in the day. But we need different perspectives. As everything can't be negative that is changed or done. Let's get people on there that can look at the bright side of moving forward. This is talking about going backwards. This is crazy that this is a issue with some retailers out there.
No, I'm glad to get rid of the book. I would like to see a standard online, not my order forms, because now I'm going to 3 or 4 different websites to order books, but like a one site where everything that's coming out, and then I can hunt where I can get that book or this book. Or maybe the publisher will be listed, not the publisher, but the distributor will be listed under the book.
I mean, honestly, make a deal with Cover Price. They have the best coverage of all the covers that are coming out. I guarantee you, Brian, did that previews just come out with all those black boxes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull up one of those pages and then pull up Cover Price.
Cover Price will have them. Yeah.
Cover Price has them. Why don't we just cut through the middleman and make a deal with Cover Price?
Yeah.
Damn it. Now I want popcorn.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Did you just grab one popcorn?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Restraint.
His man card. You got Mr. Zit and Mr. Grab one piece of popcorn at a time. So I think it's a conversation we should have, but it's a conversation of how do we evolve and be better. When Emmett said, well, I go to 4 companies. Wow. Join the real world in every industry. Every industry you're ordering from, when I was with Nordstrom, 25,000 plus people we ordered from a month. I know that's a big company and all that, and they have the different departments, but it's okay if we have to order from 3 to 4 people a month or 5 people a month.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
The big deal, Jesse, is the people that still have a cigar box under their not cash register like to flip through a book.
Right.
Well,
because that's why they were still. Well, sorry, but that's why they were still ordering Marvel and DC through Diamond rather than going over to Penguin and Lunar when they had the chance.
Well, speaking of those people that, still have the, cigar box full of cash under their box because they were paying COD or not COD, Diamond Comics Distributors ends COD cash on delivery for comic shops. Now, here's the interesting thing that I want to ask you guys that I don't understand about this. Why are we still calling it Diamond? Why is it
because
not?
They bought Diamond
why is it
and
not,
they get to use Diamond.
Oh, but they're not keeping the name, aren't they?
No, they're keeping the name.
They're keeping the name Diamond?
The name now, I would say in 90 days, let's ask that question again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But as of right now, that's a Diamond Previews catalog they just printed and shipped out.
Well,
it is still Diamond that all the contracts that they still have, what few they probably still have a Diamond header on it and a Diamond service.
But the bottom line is this is Ad Pop's decision to do this, right?
Right. But if I'm Ad Pop, do I want to be the bad guy? I'm going to use Diamond on every bad message that goes out. I'm never going to be the person who shows a penguin. You should keep on showing a penguin in a. Or is that I'm hoping you're the one showing that penguin with in the cave. That
The
blue.
penguins?
Yeah. Did you guys not just see that blue?
I saw it. Yeah.
Okay, good. I
that's
crazy.
That's Brian's chill photo, his relaxing chill photo.
There you go. Okay, woo! I thought I was
What's
going
that?
crazy here.
Yeah, when you cut to the photos, you go to this iceberg with 2 whales. Yeah, behind there.
Yeah. Okay. Woo! I thought I was
Yeah.
seeing stuff. I was like, man, I can't be this.
Okay,
mad
well, I
about
didn't see the
this
baby
stuff.
whale, so three whales.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so gentlemen, I mean, I hate to throw the bombs, but Brian pulled the pin and I'm holding the grenade. Why would you do this? Why would you Sparkle, Pop, Ad Pop, whatever their names are?
Yeah.
Why would you cancel COD for all retailers that you have left?
Oh, it's a secret trade secret, right?
We're going to blow it off. We'll blow it out now.
It's trade secret. That's what I meant to say.
Well-
So, Dennis, you can be the bearer of that.
They want stricter payment terms, right?
No.
Because of all the
Cash
money
now.
that.
No.
Cash now.
No, cash now, Brian.
Yeah.
So if let's just say Brian's comics, no, not Bry's comics, Brian's comics, you order $1,000 from Diamond, and you get those 4 boxes that arrive on your doorstep, and it says COD $1,000 on one of the tags for the 4 boxes. Now, there's a lot of different things that we're going to discuss here with this ins and outs. And Brian, like I said, we're dumbing this down, not to insult you, but because you don't understand this. So first of all, if I give that UPS driver a certified check for $1,000, he puts it in a little envelope. At the end of the day, he gives it to the dispatch office. They then take it and they go, okay, this goes to here, this goes to here, this goes to here. It eventually arrives to Diamond. Diamond takes those checks and they give it to the bank. The bank's going to take a couple days to process that. That's a week to 14 days where that money is floating. It's not in anybody's pocket because the retailer had the certified check. So the retailer's already paid for it. UPS doesn't cash it. And it takes about 7 to 14 days for that check to cash before they get the money. So it could be, I'm using finger quotes, they need the money faster than 14 days. Okay. But also, and this is the dirty, dirty, dirty dark secret of comic retailing. And I'm sure none of us have done it.
The disclaimer, I have never done it. There have been times where I've been tempted to do it. So
when those 4 boxes show up at Brian's Comics doorstep, and Brian only has $900 in his pocket, and he doesn't have that extra $100, UPS driver, can you take this one back and I'll pick it up at the center? I didn't get the check. You know, I forgot to get the check this morning. Take that one back, but I'll take these 3 boxes.
Yep.
And you hope that the hottest comic of the week isn't in that COD tag.
Right. But keep in mind, the COD tag is on the smallest box out of the group.
It always was.
Yeah, always the smallest box.
So, and sometimes that COD tag, you know what? And all due deference to retailers who've had this situation, you get a check for $1,000, and all of a sudden that COD tag says $1,200, and you're like, what the F? My invoice said $1,000. Why does this have a COD tag for $200 or for $1,200? So you don't have the $1,000 that you the $1,200 you owe them, and you have to find out where's that extra $200 coming from. The invoice said $1,000. I got my bank to give me $1,000 check, but the other thing is you don't have to pay for that order. Yep. And this goes back to what we've been talking about since January and way before that. There are so many accounts that are in arrears that it would not shock me if Ad Pop is sitting there going, wait a second, how many retailers send back the COD tag and keep the comics? Okay, you know what? We got to get checks from these bastards ahead of time because we can't do business this way. So it's highly possible that that is another situation that Ad Pop is dealing with right now. And I don't begrudge them that. The retailers are probably going to have to pay with a credit card on file before those boxes get shipped. And that's a situation that Ad Pop is demanding.
Right.
Look,
and
I'm
that's
lucky if I get my comics from Ad Pop right now. I didn't get any this week, and I know I ordered some. So
yeah, and what we're talking about is standard practice. So I think when we talk about what Sparkle is doing at Diamond, right? Is it Sparkle?
Ad Pop?
Sparkle something.
Sparkle.
No, there's a parent company that owns Diamond called Sparkle something.
Yeah,
Sparkle
exactly.
Pop?
Yeah, it's Sparkle. Okay, I'm not talking about My Little Pony. So at the end of the day, that's how business is done. So I think when a company comes in, they say, whoa, wait a minute. So we're sending stuff COD, cashier check. Well, we gotta wait for that to get back. Then we got these jamokes, or I'm sorry, not jamokes. We got these store retailers that aren't even paying for those, so we don't get that back for another 7 to 10 days, saying it wasn't paid. And then can you send a check to us, right? And so they mail us a check, blah, blah, whatever happens. But then on top of it, they go and they say, well, you know what? XYZ Comics also owes Diamond $15,000. So why were we shipping to begin with?
Yep.
So I think what happens is when they come in, you got to make sense of it. And then you got to figure out, if you're talking about 5-10 year plans, right? If we go backwards and we say, well, wait a minute, 5-10 years ago, they were doing X amount of dollars. The guy that wrote that post, my bill every week was $10,000. Now it's only $200 a week, right? So they're going to have to figure out how this is going to make sense for them going forward. And I think that's the very important.
And the scenario that Dennis brought up about the 1,200, you expect 1,000, get 1,200. Diamond was famous for you order stuff and you have no idea when it's going to ship.
Right.
I would get Halloween items in February and Christmas items in May.
Right.
And they would just add it to hey, you ordered it. So it's now on this.
I told this show that I ordered 50 of those 45 album with the comic book. What's the furthest place from here?
Yeah.
2 years after I ordered the damn thing, they send me an invoice for like $1,500. And I'm like, guys, that ship sailed. Eat it.
Yeah.
Well, so it's very, very interesting. I think at the end of the day, I forgot who I was talking today, and this came up, and I said, we have to look at both parties here because they were really on the retailers and saying, these retailers are doing X, Y, Z. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If Diamond says, we're going to give you $10, and that retailer says, well, I can't pay you that $10, but can I borrow another $20 next week?
Yeah.
And Diamond says, yes, we'll give you $20. Don't forget, you still owe us the $10. So you technically owe us $30. Whose fault is that at some point?
Diamond trained retailers to go into deep debt that they never were intending to pay.
Nope.
Right, exactly. And the notion that they had so many retailers at one point with only 3 people in credit, you split that up into 3. Well, who are you chasing? Right? And how do you figure out that chase? Because if it's XYZ who does XYZ business and they owe us $100,000, but I got XYZ who does not a lot of business, but they owe us $4,000, I'm probably chasing the $4,000 person, right?
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make sense for the store who can't afford $4,000. How we then get our $4,000 back? So I think at the end of the day, not doing COD will change into, you know what, guys, this is the day we're charging your credit card. We're not ACHing you. We're charging your credit card on this day, and it is what it is.
Well, here's kind of the BS about all this, because this news story also came out about Ad Pop's delayed payments and radio silence towards the publishers that they owe money to, which, it's like, what is going on here? You're not, Ad Pop is complaining about, retailers not paying them or paying on time, and they're not paying the publishers that they owe money to that have been waiting on the money from this bankruptcy. They're not paying those publishers. We talked about Dynamite last week, I believe, and a big chunk of change they owe Dynamite, which is crazy, which is even more than what we're hearing. We all imagined. So this is a real big foobar in this whole thing.
Yeah, Nick got some big licenses recently, if you didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
On FOC, he got Stitch and he got Harley Quinn.
Well, he's doing a Elvira Harley
Quinn
crossover. Yeah.
You want to go, Dennis?
No, have at it.
Okay. So I would be very cautious on articles like this, only because, Ad Pop hasn't even owed Diamond for more than a month.
Right.
So unless people are saying, listen, I have a net 15 or a net 30, who would be getting paid this early into the game? Now, what Ad Pop might be doing is saying, listen, you got some storage fees. We just did an inventory count, so we're going through this. We're trying to match your numbers with the numbers we actually have. So this might be a little bit more low-hanging fruit information here. I would say next month, or once you get to 31 days that they owe them, then let's go back and see who's ghosting who at this point.
Yeah,
Well,
but we're coming up. We're 5 days from that.
Yeah. Ad Pop is claiming that it's paid the bankruptcy estate, and it's in the hands of the estate to distribute the funds.
That's pre-ownership. Pre-ownership in a bankruptcy, that 19 million goes in, and then they take that money and they pay out pre-ownership, right? But what this article is saying, everything that post-ownership, they owe these distributors or these publishers money. And I just find it hard to believe this soon they would owe publishers money.
Publishers expected to their first post-sale payments by a specified due date, but those payments did not arrive, and Diamond staff said Ad Pop had not authorized them. Ooh.
Say that last part again.
Publishers expected their first post-sale payment by a specified due date, but those payments did not arrive, and Diamond staff said Ad Pop has not authorized them.
Right. So,
and that would be the staff, the Diamond staff that didn't get fired or didn't go to work for Alliance.
Yes.
Right. That's a tricky thing. Earlier, I had said Ad Pop does not want to deliver bad news. They want Diamond to deliver the bad news, right? Here's a case where Diamond says, oh, that's not on us. That's on Ad Pop. So a lot of this is a play on words on how they're doing business right now. I personally think when a company comes in, they have this idea of, oh my gosh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then this is what we're going to do in the end, and it's going to be freaking awesome. And then they walk in, they say, what the fuck? None of this adds up. We need to not have our 5 to 10 year business plan. We need to have a emergency 30-day plan.
Yeah.
And I think that is what is happening. However, I will tell you, if you're a publisher and you're saying, oh crap, I didn't get paid by Diamond. Oh crap, I'm not getting paid by Ad Pop. You need to go to someone that's going to pay you.
Well, and it's one step beyond that, Jesse, which is once Alliance was out and Ad Pop was back in, and I mean that was like early May, mid to middle May, and once they got the keys, they said everything is going as usual. Well, that means any publisher that delivered a product May 15th and beyond, it has a contract with Diamond, the company name they're still using, that says we get our check after you collect this money and blah, blah, blah. And then guess what? Well, they start collecting that money starting May 15th, and they see the bag's a little light because retailer number 52 decided to keep that COD tag at UPS rather than pay it. And then a check bounces from retailer 102 and all of this. And they're just like, oh, shit, we got to start paying these people based on our contract. And we don't have the money to pay them because these checks have bounced and these retailers haven't paid. We got to get rid of this COD. And then guess what? We're right in that window where all of the pipers are coming home to, or all of the whatever is coming home to roost, chickens.
Yep.
And
Definitely could all be connected.
I think they are all connected.
33 million in funds owed from retailers on the COD system, and then tens of millions also owed that Diamond, aka Ad Pop, owes publishers. So these two are,
Oh, 30. No, Brian, you're forgetting the big number. Diamond went into bankruptcy because they owed $39 million.
Yeah.
Okay. And that alliance check from Universal and Ad Pop, whatever that total was, we think it was around 49. That got paid to the bank. That got paid to the creditor. So that 39 should be getting paid. And everything after that, they're already out the money. I think they're trying to figure out how to get that money back that they put into Diamond as fast as possible and not go out of pocket even more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all about checks and balances. So we don't know how Ad Pop does their checks and balances every week or every day, or however they're going to do it. The notion is, if you read that article, I believe they're charging you a week out. Yeah, and eventually it's going to be 2 weeks out. You're going to have a skip week, so they're just going to add that to the 4 weeks. You know, it's kind of funny. This normally doesn't get to social where people know about it. This is traditionally eternal things. So when I look at this, I almost read it as if, who is posting this? What is the deterrence here? What is the distraction in these type of articles that reach a bleeding cool or ICV2? And what is the end game to it? I think
I'll just say it right now. It's not me. Finally.
Well, I'll tell you who it is. It's a lot of pissed off publishers, this guy from Fair Square Graphics, Fabrice Sapolsky. He says, publishers, Diamond distributors, episode 594, statements come weekly, payments don't. What the fuck? Benjamin Napier from Mansfield Comics and Manga in Texas said, they're sure as hell bill us weekly for what it's worth. The fact that the new management doesn't even answer such a simple question is baffling. By contract, we should be paid, and you should get your books on time. But accountability was never a quality praised at that company, so I guess no improvement on that front, alas. I mean, there's a lot of people that are, as of right now, complaining publicly about this whole thing.
Yeah, so. I believe it or not, I know we're supposed to be on the publisher side and on the retailer side and all that, but your rodeo has ended. Go to Penguin, go to Lunar, go to Massive, go to Panelfly, go to Filbo. What the hell are you guys doing?
Well, here's the problem with that, Jesse. If they didn't go a few days ago on May 31st to Penguin, they lost an extra 2% off on comics. Did you guys see this?
Yep.
Last day, comic stores can sign up for the Penguin Random House program, where comic shops get an extra 2% off comics and money off of other things, including like special DC books and manga. So that's very interesting. I wonder how many retailers out there missed out on this. If you're a retailer and you didn't get a chance to sign up for on this, let us know in a comment below. I want to hear from you guys. And is this a big enough deal that you guys are pissed off about it. And I want to ask you guys, especially Emmett, who's one of the guys, retailers on this panel that still, sells new books and is constantly going, putting orders in. Did you sign up for this in time?
So yeah, I signed up as soon as Penguin Random House came out and Lunar came out. I signed up. Gosh, what is that? 3 years ago now? Two.
But did you sign up for this program already? This special direct market partnership program?
Yes. So, and I've been I still had been ordering from Diamond, getting the same discounts, maybe a little less because I wasn't getting the free ship from Penguin. So I was paying a little bit more, but dude, I mean, I know it sounds like an old man. The ordering system was just better. And Random House, like this week's Marvel Comics, somehow I only got like 4 Marvel books and I missed all the rest. I don't know how I did it. I got my Dark Horse books. I got other stuff from Random House. I got 3 Marvel books, but the vast majority of Marvel books, somehow they didn't end up on my FOC. When I went back and looked, the catalog that has like 428 and then 526. You had to go to a different catalog that had 512 on it. I don't know how I missed it, but I missed it. So, it's a constant struggle with their catalog system for me.
Right. Are you not populating just to floppies? Or are you looking through everything, trades and all that?
I'm just doing comic books.
Okay. Yeah, you should be able to populate it very well. I mean, it's an easy system.
I try to do it really early, and sometimes the books aren't on there.
Right.
Or they don't have the little tags. My biggest problem with their system was you would look at a book and you would then see order this other book quantity 25 to be able to get this, but then it would be hard to figure out which one was the one you had to order the 25 of.
Right.
And then you would have to go back out of that system, and that system was very slow reaction wise.
So all my subscribers were in there with what they got, and I could just hit one button and it automatically ordered all of their books. I can't even put subscribers in either system. So like it is a lot more work, which I know I have to do, but that's why I stayed with Diamond for so long. It was convenient, comfortable, and I got all my books until I didn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
they were promoting this 2% every freaking day.
Yeah.
Well, you don't only get 2%, you get 10% off DC Black Label. It's also got additional benefits from extra sales assets, galleys, newsletters, and more. All kinds of stuff that they're offering, which of course they should be offering, right? That's something that they should be doing.
Yeah, the marketing that they have made on this versus the discounts they're giving is tremendous, because you got one company who's struggling post or pre-bankruptcy, post-bankruptcy. So let's give you some good news. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh my gosh, be part of this membership club. Yeah. Be part of the team.
But another thing at Penguin is I have a sales associate. He says, every week on Friday, I get a thing that who didn't order any books or very low. And then I'll notify them. This has happened to me 5 or 6 times since I've been over there. And he has not notified me one fucking time.
Wow.
He has my phone number. He could just text me, hey, are you ordering books this week? Diamond used to call. They would call and say, hey, we see you don't have any books ordered on FOC. And I'm like, what the fuck? How? I'd go in and I could get it done. Nothing.
You know why?
Because they wanted the money.
No, because you were paying them.
I was paying on time.
Like, this guy pays on time. We're going to take care of this guy.
And there's absolute radio silence from Lunar. Like Lunar wouldn't
Oh, no, no,
call you
Lunar's
if
the
they were
best.
on fucking fire.
How dare you argue that Lunar isn't the best?
Well, the quality that the shipping and everything is great and all, but like zero communication is pretty shitty. You know, it's not a little bit of money we spend every year with them. I don't know.
They make
Guess
up
I'm just
for
old school.
They make up for the customer service over at Discount Comic Book Service, I'm sure.
So, some of the biggest news out of the whole bankruptcy thing that is very interesting to us over here because of history, we'll say, is the
Infamy.
infamy. Yeah, the Alliance Entertainment and Ad Populum / Universal / Diamond infighting that's going on. So now Diamond's new owner, Ad Populum, is suing Alliance Entertainment. So now they're just like, I'll sue you, and then they'll sue back, and we're just going to sue everybody. Fuck it, you know? So this is very interesting. Ad Populum, buyer Diamond's assets in partnership with Universal Distribution, is suing Alliance Entertainment, which previously won then lost the auction to acquire Diamond, which is very interesting. And the allegations are that AENT is accused of misappropriating Diamond's trade secrets, including internal documents and distribution strategies, and they're alleged to have poached staff, including key vice presidents, sales executives, and use that insider knowledge to launch competitive operations. And we talked about this last week, I believe, with the firing or firing and hiring of employees by Diamond and then AENT.
I just did a video last week on this entire topic, and it's like, well, only time will tell if AENT does right by the comic book industry, and whether or not Universal Ad Pop does what everybody said they would do.
Well, the interesting thing is, Ad Pop is kind of late to the party on this one. Like, now they're suing after it's happened. They should have put something in place that said, if you're going to do this, we're going to sue your ass. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Well,
did they not expect that for AENT to poach those people that are losing their jobs at Diamond? And did they not expect that?
And once again, Brian, I think this is very interconnected. So Alliance still has that lawsuit against that $49 million that's in that bank. That might be also why these publishers have not gotten paid, because Alliance has that, hey, we want that 8.5 mil back. This is bullshit, and we deserve that back. Plus, we want this extra money that
for our time
we
and
wasted
effort. Yeah.
over this bullshit of you lying to us. So the one way to, and this is no secret, this is what my lawyer, always encourages me to do. If somebody sues you, you have to figure out what their lawsuit to you is worth, and also what you feel damages against the other party are. And a lot of times in courts, if Alliance is coming at them for 14 or 13 million, which I think is the total, I'm not for sure, this would be Ad Pop's way to say, okay, you know what? We think you did $10 million worth of damage to our new business opportunities, so we're going to sue you for X amount, and then our lawyers can hash out how much everybody makes at the end.
Shout out to Vika. Good to see you, brother. $9.99 super chat. That's awesome.
Oh, I thought that was Emmett.
Well, he had that piece of popcorn. So
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When a company takes over another company from bankruptcy, they inherit everything. So if there's NDAs, they inherit that as the new company. That doesn't go away. However, what you have to determine was a employee fired or did they quit? Those are the two things. So if they quit as they're leaving Diamond and Ad Pop hasn't taken over, you have this void in between.
Well, and if you read that story, Brian, there's a line in there where one of the employees quit. And before he walked out the door, he said, "Ooh."
Shout out to my boy Lord Zero, who just dropped a $20 super chat. You guys are amazing. Real quick, since you guys just dropped some major cash, thank you so much to everybody that supports this channel. For those of you guys that don't know, creating content can sometimes be taxing, and not just in time and effort. And I can't thank the guys who support this channel enough, whether it's by super chats, memberships, gifting memberships, and even just watching live and hitting that thumbs up. It means a lot. The prices for StreamYard and Premiere Pro and all these different programs, and of course our time and effort in this can be taxing at times. And you guys are amazing. You make this more than worth doing over here, and we love you guys. So thank you so much, everybody out there.
And just so people know, when we do this show, it's a 3-hour show. Traditionally, we've spent about 20 hours during the week talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it's a 23-hour show, right? And whether we're agreeing on anything or disagreeing, it is a lot of work.
I get to come on and eat popcorn.
Yeah, you get to come on and eat popcorn, one popcorn at a time. Your new nickname is One Popcorn. So, Dennis, you were talking about the employee that quit.
Yeah. So one of the employees, and this is what's called out in the the cease of action. What's it?
Cease.
What's it called?
Desist?
Cease and desist. Yeah.
Yeah, for 14 days.
Yeah. An employee gave his resignation, and on his last day decided to call his contact and just say to him, "Hey, I'm not working here anymore. I'll be working at a new company. I'll contact you about some new stuff then, but have a good
diamond
one."
phone?
Probably. Yeah, it was definitely stupid.
Yeah, it says here the lawsuit accuses Alliance of violating federal Defend Trade Secrets Act and the Maryland Uniform Trade Secrets Act, as well as tortiously interfering with employment contracts and the bankruptcy proceedings. Sparkle Pop is seeking compensatory and punitive damages, statutory double damages, attorney's fees, and injunctive relief to prevent Alliance from employing the allegedly poached workers, using Diamond contracts, trade secrets, or soliciting its business partners, including Amazon. A cease and desist letter sent by Diamond Comics Counsel to Alliance on the 2nd of June reportedly went unanswered. Alliance Entertainment, based in Florida, has not responded. This was kind of funny. It may also be notable that on the infamous Beyond Wednesdays podcast, thank you, Rich, we love you, brother, that AENT CEO Bruce Ogilvy appeared on, he stated that he had to reach out to the Raymond James firm, which was running the bankruptcy, and tried to buy Diamond before entering Chapter 11. The court case states that Raymond James reached out to AENT and they signed the NDA in October, 3 months before entering Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It might be worth bleeding cool revisiting this timeline for the whole Chapter 11 affair. So.
Yep. Yeah. So again, I've said this 3 times now. This is all distraction, right? They got into Diamond. They realize how much money they've spent. Now they're realizing, holy cow, we spent this much money and our return is going to be this much. So let's do X, Y, Z. AENT does not have they're not responsible to respond to anything.
Nope.
In this case. They're going to conduct their business. Amazon is a public business. They are not a company that signs exclusives for people to sell on their platform. So whatever that guy did in the Diamond office is immaterial.
Yeah.
What's material is, did someone follow up at AENT and call Amazon and say, "Hey, we'd like to sell on Amazon"?
I mean, here's the deal. I had an employee quit basically tell me mid-shift that he was quitting he got another job offer, and this would be his last day at work. I, as his employer, have two options at that point. Let him go back to his desk, let him possibly screw something up, let him cash in on a couple hours of pay where he's basically phoning it in, or I thank him for his service, let him know that he can clock out now and escort him out the store and give him a hearty pat on the back as he's walking out.
Yep. Yeah.
Somebody didn't do the second part. They let this guy go back to his desk after he's already accepted with the new company, after he's already put in his thing. They didn't have security walk over to his desk with a box and said, we'll box it up for you. We'll see you out front.
Yep. Yeah. Traditionally what happens in the bigger companies, you give 2 weeks notice, and I've done this for decades. You give 2 weeks notice. I'm like, congratulations on that decision. Let's walk up to HR. We'll then go ahead and pay you out for your 2 weeks. Do you have any belongings you need to get on your desk here? Thank you very much. They'll then cut you a check. Enjoy those 2 weeks. Enjoy your new job. And that's how you run big businesses. When you're talking about these 7 people that went over and you have sour grapes because they're helping your competition do what you should be doing already. How is this impeding your ability to still sell on Amazon is going to come up. And then they say, okay, how does it impede you from doing business and conducting business? That's going to be the final question. And they have to answer that.
And honestly, that guy was a total freaking idiot for calling Amazon, because whoever that guy at Amazon was told AENT, hey, by the way, this guy called me. Snitches get stitches, okay? That guy totally snitched on whoever called him. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't want to deal with you when I move over to this new company after that bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, when people leave, we're talking about 7 people that got management jobs.
You can say, I agree. They poached them. Yeah. But the point is they were there for the poaching.
But who doesn't?
If Ad Pop had come in and said, everybody is getting a 10% raise as long as you stay with us, and blah, 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 blah. But that didn't happen. They started chopping heads the second they got the keys, and everybody started looking for a greener pasture the second those guys got the keys.
And you can't blame them one bit.
You can't blame them.
Yeah, I would say that, but there's also a sense of these people have been with Diamond for a long time.
Yeah. But Diamond is no more.
Run. You got new owners coming in. Do you really want to be part of that discussion of why did you do this? Why are you doing that? You know what? It's best for me just to move on and start over someplace else. And not go through that. Well,
they're not indentured servants. They don't have to stay with whatever the new paradigm shift is. Right. They can say, I see this regime not being good for me. I'm out of here.
Yep.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to give.
It's a large number to move all at once together from one place to another who was involved. Like, it's very incestuous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. AENT was buying it. And
here's the funniest part. Jesse, you know several of these people. I know a couple of these people. A lot of these people came from Capital City when Jeppy won the distributors wars.
Yep.
And the people from Capital City moved over to Diamond because guess what? There was no Capital City anymore.
It's the way the game is played. I want to give a quick shout out to Comics Embrace, who recently lost his mother, and he says that this is his therapy comic book content. And much love to you, brother. Shout out to you and your family. Prayers and thoughts to you and yours. And we're sorry for your loss, man. Absolutely. All right. This next one is very interesting. Diamond cancels all orders from Marvel, Boom, Dark Horse, IDW, and more. Let the games begin.
I'll take it.
You go first.
Rich, we all love you, but let me just say, I think you got the order of this statement a little backwards. because as far as I was told, Marvel, Boom, Dark Horse, IDW told Diamond, we were not going to send you any more comic books, and they canceled Diamond.
Yeah, they threw up the deuces.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, play on words.
Yeah.
You know, if you know how to write stuff, if you have someone who's a good person who can do a header that really knows how to write something and twist it so that the reader is like, holy cow, look at Diamond's power play.
Yeah.
It could even been a press release.
Yeah.
Sent over to Rich.
Yeah. But
Exactly.
the thing is we all know the reality. The reality is most of these guys left long ago.
Long ago.
Yep.
And I read the article on Bleeding Cool when they left.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like, this is what, you know, I want to go back. I think we left the last story a little bit too soon. This is what happens in the comic book world with reps, right? You're talking to a rep at Valiant, and guess what they do? They go over to Boom. And what do? They give you a call. Hey, guess what? I'm not with Valiant anymore. I'm with Boom. So what we want to do is we want to do these exclusives, and we want to do this, and we want to do that.
Jesse, if you had to give a percentage right now, and when did you open your first Jesse James store?
2009.
Okay. I opened mine in 2003. So roughly that same 15 to 20 year period, just based off of that. No offense, Emmett.
No worries.
We went to every retailer summit. We met every publisher. We met all these guys. On a 1 to 100 percentage, how many people are still at the exact same company that they were at 15 to 20 years ago?
0.50.
I was going to say 5%.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's pretty high.
I was going to be generous and say 5% are still with the companies they were 15 years ago.
Yeah, it is
It's David Gabriel, Mike, whatever his name is at Marvel.
They're constantly shifting. They're constantly jumping to the next one. Yes.
Yeah, something new.
Yeah. Dirk Wood went from Dark Horse to IDW to
None of the
Image.
none of the comic publishers are making their numbers.
Yeah.
So these guys are having to move on.
Well, but
Constantly.
Brian, what did I say to you before San Diego last year? It's like a giant game of musical chairs, and there's so many people that aren't going to get a chair left.
Right, exactly. And again, they're hiring these people to bring them over so that they bring retailers over with them from that previous company.
Yep.
So, you know, when you see something like that article and what they're doing, you know, that's just the practices of this industry, and that's just how it works.
Well, and back to the first topic, no contracts. I guarantee you, most of those people that we know that bounce from place to place, they never had an NDA or a no compete clause. So when they move from one company to the other, that Rolodex is going with them. I've never had one of them go, hey, Dennis, I have to unfriend you on Facebook, but I'll refriend you under my new account over here. No.
Yep.
They send out a message. They send out a new email, one a day, 5 publishers, 10 publishers. We hear where they're at, and we see the names move, and that's it.
Hey, guys, I'm going to jump out for about a minute. I'll be right back in.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think that's been one of the eye-opening things for me is you do see that musical chairs thing happen. And here's the reason why. I went to Phoenix Comic Con this weekend, Phoenix Fan Fusion. A little backstory on that. I've been trying to get a press pass at my local con for the last probably 6 years now. Never even, a sniff of getting a press pass. They turned me down again this year. And I want to give a big shout out to Chris Rupp of Rupp's Comics, who hit me up and he said, hey man, I got a badge for you. Come on any day. I'll drop it off here. Come pick it up. So I went in on Saturday. It was absolutely crazy. I walked in and then got an emergency call, so I had to walk right back out, which I'm kind of glad because it was so crazy on Saturday. So I went back on Sunday, and I had a long conversation with Chris about how everything is in this industry and how everything is going, and it's very interesting to hear from the old guard and hear about kind of how the world of comics is. And I've told you guys multiple times that my eyes have been opened very wide since doing this show, and I thought I knew everything about comics until I started talking with the guys who work in the industry. And here's one thing that Chris said to me that really stood out. The comic book industry is tiny. It is such a tiny industry in the scheme of things. We think it's this big thing. It is not. It is so tiny, so small. It feels like it's hanging by a thread right now. And we expect it to be run a certain way. And because it's so tiny, it's not. It really isn't. And it's even tinier than it was, in the last 10, 20, 30 years. It keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And over the last 5 years, it's changed drastically, and it's going to continue to change drastically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But niches bring riches.
I like that. I like that.
Comics is a niche, and it'll always be a niche. Yeah. If it grows, we do phenomenally well. If it gets smaller, we still do well. It's just the print runs get smaller and smaller. And then when something's a hit, then that book is worth that much more money. But I'm doing better business than I did 10 years ago. It's just getting better and better and better.
Yeah, we talked about this when PSA announced their head grader, and all those people were like, "Oh, I don't trust that guy." Oh, blah 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 blah. And we said it. It's like, well, I don't know what he did. I haven't heard anybody tell me what he did, but he did something to somebody, and they held a grudge. And I mean, I'm looking in the mirror at myself. You screwed me 20 years ago. I'm going to hold that on you. And guess what? You'll never see my money again. Same thing with Jesse, same thing with Emmett. We all have people that have burned us at some point, and the business is so small and there's so many niches. Yep. You can glide through this business without doing any business with certain people ever again.
But also reputations mean a lot in this industry. I found that also that is very evident. How you treat people, and because it's so tiny, this industry is so tiny. Everybody talks to each other, and names come up. Oh, what do you think of this guy? And listen, if you can really burn some bridges, that is going to affect you in this industry. Some people it doesn't affect. We got one on the panel right here that is very adept at doing things the way he does. Now, but here's the problem: not everybody is able to be Dennis Barger, right? That is something that is very
most people
hard
wouldn't
to
even
do.
fit in my underwear.
Yeah. So the fact that this industry is so tiny blows me away. And we as comics fans think it's this great thing because we love it and we enjoy it. But it's a shrinking industry even
Well,
at
but the
that.
thing with that, Brian, is especially this show in particular, this industry needs to get more professional. And that's what Jesse and I and Emmett, we talk about week after week, topic after topic. Contracts. Where are the contracts? We'd be in a lot better position as an industry if we took it seriously more often.
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, it's your job as a business owner to create your brand. And this is how my brand works. So if someone comes to you and they don't know how your brand works, then you probably shouldn't be doing business with them anyways. I was talking to someone today and they're like, I got a J. Scott Campbell cover and I've got a Murat Michaels and I got a Brian, whatever. And they're going through all these names, but I'm really excited about this guy named Smudgy. And I'm like, who's Smudgy? Well, he does this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles parody. But I'm like, do you realize you just embarrassed all your creators that you have? Does J. Scott Campbell want to be on the same corral with Smudgy? And so and I'm serious, that's the guy's name. So when you create your brand should say something. People should know what your mission statement is. I have blinders on. You can call me everything in name in the world. I don't care. I'm just going to move forward and take care of my brand, take care of my team members, my family, and my friends, and my allies. And that's how you do this business. If you get caught up into the social world and you're online talking crap about everybody and whatever, you're shortening the time of your business that's going to be successful, and you're losing money every time you do it. Dividing your customer base is the worst thing you can do. Self-sabotage of your business is crazy how many people do that. So just, our job is it's almost the selling product is secondary. Your brand is your first responsibility. And then you sell product. And I think that's very, very important. Listen, we've all tried stuff and we've failed at stuff and we've been successful at stuff. Cool. But our job is to get to tomorrow figuring out how to do something even better. That's our goals.
Yeah.
Speaking of contracts, even in like having your own little comic shop. So there was a company that came out called Unrivaled Games 8 years ago. They were doing board gaming and they were going to send everybody, all the winners of local tournaments, to Vegas to play for a lot of money. And they flew the people out. They put them up in the hotels. They provided a banquets. It was crazy, right? So I got involved with them early on, and they couldn't find anybody that wanted to run a tournament in New York State. So they begged me to run the tournament. And I don't have they got 3,000 square feet, but I only got about 900 square feet play space. And so I said, I'll do it, but send me a contract because I'm going to do marketing. I'm going to do all this stuff. I want a contract so that I'm not going to fail the people I'm promising to do this. Sent me a contract. They signed it. I signed it. I kept my copy. Last minute, they found somebody in the city with a big, huge store to run the tournament for New York State. They said, hey, we're going to pull it. And I said, oh, that's okay. But how much are you going to pay me for not running it at my store after I've marketed and all this? And they called back. They were like, yeah, we're more than willing to give you $500. And I laughed right on the phone.
Yeah.
And I hung up. And then I waited. I called them the next day and I said, you need to add a zero at the end of that. Yeah. You don't have any in the contract. They left out, we reserve the right to cancel at any time. So I made $5,000 for not having a tournament. Plus they let everybody that played at my shop be a winner. They all went to Vegas. They sent 12 people from my store to Vegas to play. Plus my wife, my son, and another employee to Vegas to participate for fun. So like 15 people to Vegas plus $5,000. It was pretty good because I had a contract. It's that simple. Yeah. I mean, it's simple business. If you're in some kind of agreement with somebody, it should be in writing.
The best part about those contracts is it tells you what they're really going to do. And back in 2011, caution chat, I'm going to tell an old-timey story right now. Back in 2011, DC Comics did their giant reboot called New 52.
Yeah.
And they promised retailers that they were going to get a chance to sell digital copies in stores, and that information would be coming at some point in the near future. They had these road shows all over the country to try to maneuver us into being on their team. And for the most part, that was great. I was against the digital comics, obviously. And at a certain point, that contract arrived. I want to say 2 weeks before the rollout. But in that contract, there were so many giant red flags. First of all, nothing about what they would do with the data that they would collect from our customers. The amount, I believe, was 15 cents per comic. If anybody knows otherwise, let me know. We had to have a comicsology, and this was like the first we had ever heard of comicsology. I mean, they had been around, but this was the first we had heard that they were going to be the tip of the spear.
Right.
And we had to have a sign in our store equal to the biggest sign in our store for comicsology. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I have a giant Wonderworld sign. I am not giving them retail space in my store to promote them for 15 cents a digital comic. I lost it. I know that's hard to believe, but I lost it, and I went on a rampage, and I'm like, F you. I called it the DC Terms of Surrender email, because that's what they were asking. They were telling retailers, if you want to do this. So I set up a fake email, went through one of the other stores that signed on to do this whole project, went through their portal. I purchased one of the digital comics under a fake email, and within 1 week of signing up for that, I was getting comicsology. Hey, come over here and buy some digital comics.
Yeah.
Come over here and bypass that retailer that you went to his website to do. They didn't know it was Dennis. Yeah. It was Dirk Gitali. That was my fake name that I used for him. Digital. Yeah. And yeah, real clever. But I right then and there, I knew this was something that any retailer who signed up for this, I called every retailer Judas. Anytime they would talk about how great the DC digital comics were selling, I'd be like, oh, well, I hope I get a bag of 30 pieces of silver. I let them have it, because that was you surrendered. You surrendered your store for digital comics, and it was all in that contract. They were going to screw you, and you could not read that contract to see that.
Yeah, but I to play devil's advocate, they're not looking to market to Dennis. They know Dennis is going to look through everything and say, oh, XYZ. It's like when you get you're buying a house or buying a car, and they're like, oh, go to this page. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. So I think what they were looking for, that percentage of 75% of the stores that say, oh, okay, I'm getting 15 cents a comic. That's all they see, right? They don't look at anything else. They don't, it's amazing how many stores don't care if they protect their customer base at all. They don't work in those terms.
Right.
So yeah, at the end of the day, I think you're always going to have that, and you're always going to have retailers that will just say, where do I sign?
Yeah. This is interesting. This is recent news out of Vault Comics. And if you guys don't know, one of the biggest news stories in comics is the Post Malone team up, where Post Malone has created and is helping to write a comic called Big Rig, which is basically like a Army of Darkness meets what is that movie by Steven Spielberg with the truckers? Basically, it's about a trucker in
with all the AC/DC music.
Yeah. So James Kreider just dropped this in the chat just now. He said, fresh fuckery afoot post FOC. Vault is reopening FOC and adding another 3,000 Post Malone big rig boxes. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about here, basically Vault is selling these big rig boxes that have certain variant covers in them to get these exclusives. And it's very interesting. We'll see how it all plays out. But, you know, the funny thing about it is comic buyers, comic collectors are noticing this cash grab play. And I don't think that comic publishers realize how important the collectability of a book is these days. And I think, you know, in the past, the whole mindset was we just need to print more, pad our numbers, print more. Nobody's going to care. Let's just get more out there. Well, now people care. It's the reason why that, you know, creators and publishers are saying, nope, we want to keep our print run on special books down to less than 500 print run or less than 300 print run, because we know how much people love the collectability and the rarity of books. So we'll see how this all plays out. I think that in the end, I really love the fact that Post Malone is part of our hobby. It's very important. Post Malone seems like a very cool cat. He loves Magic the Gathering and collecting and pop culture and, you know, the hobbies. So I think it's great. I just think that these publishers need to realize how important it is. If you're going to push something about being a short print run and talk about collectability, you can't pull things like this and say, oh, we're going to add another 3,000 copies to it.
Right.
Because some people bought in.
Ended up at Vault.
Say it again, Emmett.
I just don't know how he ended up at Vault.
Yeah.
They made the call.
Yep. Probably.
You know, the thing is that's 80% of the how to get these deals. Marvel had Joss Whedon when he was starting to become huge, writing Astonishing X-Men because they asked him. Chuck P wanted to do Fight Club 2. Dark Horse asked him. You know, there's so many of these big names that get into our world, except sadly, I don't see them come back around ever again because of when the backlash happens, it happens against the name at the top, not the publisher or the publisher rep that screwed it up.
Yeah, this was something that has been promoted. David has promoted this every freaking day, sometimes 5 times a day. Yesterday it was, hey, it's the 9th. This is, you know, we're looking at orders. We need you to get your orders up in XYZ, and we're doing this. And now we're adding Peachman Mocha. So you're getting a lot of information out. And sometimes what happens is you start catching these people. You were talking about people that go through the quote unquote previews magazine and goes through all 200 pages. And so what happened, I think, in this case is people started to say, listen, I'm seeing this every day. It's repetitive. I better jump in on this. And it gives the opportunity to say, listen, we might be able to nab another 3,000 orders on post FOC, which is crazy.
Can I say where they screwed up?
It's going to kill their secondary market, which people then don't trust. The next time you want to do something big, people are like they got me on their very first exclusive at New York Comic Con. I bought it and it is worthless and it cost me $250. So they get no more of my money.
Yep.
Well,
I bought the regular book, the A cover, but none of the boxes.
So I ordered 100 of their free comic book day comic. It arrived the week of.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. I've already stickered all my books. I've already stamped everything. Everything's in boxes ready to go on the wall on Saturday. And then the whole point of free comic book day is to sell that next book. I had an order for 50 copies of the regular book. But it got pushed. And I just said, you know what? It's too late now. You've missed that fire.
That window. Yep.
That window. The whole point of Free Comic Book Day is to advertise a book that is coming out right after Free Comic Book Day. If you don't know when that book's coming out, and if they just pushed the FOC to now June, when's the FOC for this? June, probably 15th, 13th.
No, I mean,
Chat
if they
let us know if
reopen
you
the
guys know.
FOC window,
I think
Yeah.
I already hit the FOC on it.
Yeah, I already did FOC. So
Yeah.
okay, but if they reopen the window to add these extra boxes,
FOC was
means
last
it's-
week.
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
but the point is that's still 3 more weeks before the book arrives.
Right. And if they reopen it, they're going to have to push it.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, July is not when a book comes out that you promoted at Free Comic Book Day.
Is this just on their website, or is this for retailers? They opened it back up.
it's for retailers.
Yeah. I find it hard to believe that they're going to make the print it and get it out and with only 2 weeks.
Yeah. So again, I think it's when I say invest, when a store invests, sometimes it's not about the money. It's how much are you invested in that book as a whole, especially when it's a number one.
Yeah.
You're trying to say, hey, to your customer base, I'm hip, I'm up with the times, I'm with this Post Malone dude.
What's up, fellow teenagers?
Exactly.
Shout out to James Kreider, who dropped this in the Beyond Wednesdays Discord. He says, we are absolutely, this is from Vault Comics, we are absolutely overwhelmed by the demand for Big Rig Bundle Box. We asked retailers to show up big for Big Rig, and you did. You blew us away. So first, thank you. Now to brass tacks. Right now, allocations would be absolutely punitive to retailers who showed up for us, with something like 1 in 10 retailers who ordered a box actually getting a box. That's just not right. So to do right by all our retail partners, we're going to re-FOC the bundle box with an increased limit of 4,000 boxes. So they went from 1,000 to 4,000. All the ratios for everything previously announced will stay the same, and to make it more exciting, we're going to throw in some extras for you. First, we're going to sneak a single copy of a special Jim Mahfood cover into every single box, so every box will contain 11 instead of 10 covers at no additional cost. Second, let's talk Peach Momoko. There's still going to be an extremely special and unique one-of-one cover, but now it's going to be even more rare, coming in at 1 in 40,000 copies. To sweeten the pot a little, we're going to throw 2 more 1 in 10,000 rarity Peach Momoko variants in there. So now there will be 9 extremely special Peach Momoko covers with rarities of at least 1 in 10,000. And there are going to be a couple other goodies thrown in. I'm not even going to mention now. The 1,000 boxes originally solicited will still hit the shelves on July 9th, and the remaining 3,000 boxes will ship 1 week later on July 16th. Yep.
So
give me that money. Give me that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that's the publisher's job, is to sell books.
What are these boxes? $100? What's the wholesale on them?
I don't know. Chat. James, do you know the wholesale on these?
Here's the thing. Here's how they could have won. Here's how they could have won this easily. If they're going to add all this extra stuff and all this extra stuff, make a separate box immediate. Just, hey, you 1,000 guys that backed us first, you're getting the coolest boxes we could have. But for everybody who wants to get in now, here's another box that's going to have 11 different comic books than what's in that first 10.
$60 dealer cost on the boxes, no price break.
Yeah, so that's, first of all, that's $6 a book.
Yeah.
Retail
and
or wholesale.
The MSRP, which I don't think any will ever sell for this, $75. So they get 60, I get to make 15.
Yeah.
That margin blows.
F that. Yeah, here's the thing, man. I really liked Vault. I liked a lot of the stuff they did early on, but it's these kind of cash grabs that make me just like, no, I'm good. I don't need you in my product mix, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Because it is one of those publishers that we really liked early on. And
You know, Brian, I've heard you talk about allocations before. And if we could just talk for about 5 minutes about allocations. Jesse, I know you know how these happen. Emmett, I'm not sure if you know.
Well, they're big on the card side.
Card side.
Okay, okay. So, but the way the comic book allocation happened, and I got firsthand knowledge of this because I knew the publisher and I knew the retailer who did this. There was I can't remember what the print size was, but it was 1,000 unit allocation. And I know the retailer who ordered 1,000 copies of it just to see what he would get allocated and what that threw my allocation off at. And I think I ordered 10 and he ordered 1,000. I got one and he got like 500 or 400. Okay. So it's not like he said, oh, it would be punitive to the retailers that ordered one. Okay, well, you can make that allocation not be punitive. You can say everyone who ordered one gets one. 500 retailers later, okay, all the retailers ordered 2, you're going to get 1. All the retailers that ordered 3, you're going to get 1 or 2. All the retailers that ordered 10, you're going to get 3 to 5. Whatever. And the one guy who ordered 100, you're going to get a percent that's left of what's left. You know, but the thing is, it's a ratio. And if that's how you, first of all, you're stupid if you get Post Malone, the hottest name in my kids know who Post Malone is. I know because of them. He's a geek. He's a huge name. Like Brian said, magic, comic books. He did the Spider-Man song, right? He did the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse song. He's a huge name in this. You limited this to 1,000. First of all, that was your mistake, Vault. You limited it to 1,000, and you had no faith in a product that you were ready to cash in on, and now you've screwed it up.
So because they're the second 3,000 are kind of come out a week later, and they had originally only going to do 1,000. Is the print run of the book's going to be going up?
Yes.
So originally there was going to be 1,000 books. Now there's going to be 4,000. But are they considered second print, or are they going to print them all at once?
Printed the books yet.
Yeah.
So it's FOC, and they haven't printed the books. So,
but then why are the second set of books coming a week later?
Probably because they have to make them, and they have enough staff to make the 1,000 boxes and get those to the distributor before shipping time. But it's going to take them additional time to process this additional overage and get those, and they probably know exactly how many they can do, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you think the street price is going to be on them? You think anybody's selling them at $75, making $15? Or
Zabit says Midtown was charging $95.99 for pre-orders on the first box.
Okay.
So I think $100.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Brian, can you pull up eBay and see what the free comic book day comic is doing?
Yeah, 1 sec.
Yeah. Sorry. Get hydrated.
Yeah, there you go.
Had to go get some more ice.
They're probably pre-selling the boxes.
Oh yeah, I would assume that you would.
I mean, if Midtown is, even though there's allocations, that's the other thing. You just cancel the order. I mean, that happens in Magic all the time. I have customers go, "Oh, I got it for $15 cheaper." I'm like, "Okay, when it gets canceled, you can't get a pre-order from me. Good luck."
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got here. Big Rig Post Malone. pre-sale. A bundle of 20 sold for $50. $1.99.
That's not a lot.
$3.
Not a lot.
Here's the thing. That's the
$6.
first appearance of this, whatever this is. And if nobody's beating down the doors to get
$2.50.
this, how much are they going to beat down the doors to get this box?
Pre-sales on the box, $95. So there you go. Pretty
So,
interesting.
35 is not a bad. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, I think if you're turning extremely fast, then it's fine. But I think this does have a window.
Yeah.
Emmett, I can't believe you just said that.
What?
So you're like, 35% isn't that bad.
It's not 35%.
No, $35.
It's
No, I
$35
understand.
on the 60. That's 50%.
Okay, but what? 35 on the 60? No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
better than
95.
50%.
That's a $95 sale.
Yeah.
$95 retail with a 35% off. You were complaining that you only got 35% off from DC through Lunar. That's
it's
the
not
same percent that you're getting if you sell this for 95 or 100 in your store.
Right.
But you're complaining about the one, and then you said it's not so bad on the other.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Well, because you're talking about the volume difference, right?
Right,
You're
right.
talking about $4.
No, I know. I just want to put it in perspective.
yeah. I will have to get $35 out of DC comic books. I'm going to have to sell, probably 20 comics. Where this, I only have to sell one box to get $35. So.
Right. Yeah. And again, this is a time thing. It's then come out. It's just it's kind of like when the what was that Walking Dead box that came out 15 or 10 years, maybe the 10-year box.
10 or 15.
Yeah, and it was allotted, and it was huge for 2 weeks, and then it just kind of fell to the wayside. And
15 was the blind bags. 15 was the blind bags, and they still are not really
right.
They still only sell for like $5.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see the numbers, and we'll see how.
I think they're cutting their nose off despite their face with this increase. And
especially those people who are paying the $95 who originally thought there was only going to be 1,000.
Yeah.
Right? And then now the number's 4,000. So.
All right. So final big story of this week's show is Darren Hutchinson of Unknown Comics recently put out a State of the Union about Unknown Comics video.
Does he say State of the Union or State of the business?
State of the Union for Unknown Comics. He calls it State of the Union about Unknown Comics.
Right.
And
running for Congress.
It was a very, very interesting video. You guys can go check it out on Facebook. He dropped it on Facebook. It was kind of funny because immediately following the show last Tuesday, he dropped this. We sat behind the stage and watched this entire video immediately following the show last Tuesday. And it was very eye-opening, absolutely eye-opening. A lot of things to talk about on this. We're not going to EFAP the whole thing because it's quite a bit.
Long.
Yeah, it's 20,
very
30 minutes.
well.
Very personal. I do think that Sean Hudachko did an excellent job EFAPing it. So if you want to see some other retailers' thoughts on this thing and breaking it down, Sean did a great job on his YouTube channel for Comics Elite. It was very surprising to hear Sean's views on some of the stuff, and much respect to Sean. I gained a lot of respect for him after watching this video about him going over the entire Unknown Comics State of the Union. But let's just break this down a little bit here. So over the last 6 months or so, Unknown Comics has made some major moves in the industry when it comes to how they do business. One, they've decided, the big one is they stopped doing FOC pre-orders on their webpage, which is for a lot of online retailers a big chunk of money. We have all kind of thought, why is this happening? What's going on? Why is the reason they're no longer doing FOC pre-orders? A lot of us have kind of, thrown out ideas on maybe he owed, Unknown Comics owed a lot of money to Diamond, on the back end. And because of that, Penguin, Random House, and Lunar maybe decided, because they owed so much money to Diamond, that they wouldn't, give them the same net terms. So, it wasn't worth them doing FOC anymore, which is, a big part of the rumor mill going out there. He barely touched on that. He didn't say why. Another big thing that I thought was very interesting was he talked about how he has a huge warehouse, something like 4 million books in a warehouse that he literally has not even touched. Mostly, I imagine, the ratio variants and the A covers that he was owed on all the retailer exclusive variants he did over the years. I mean, Unknown Comics is one of the biggest retailer exclusive variant mills out there, doing 5 or more a month at sometimes, it seemed like. Of course, you guys know David Nakayama was putting out a ton of books for them. Miko Suyon. There was artists that probably made the majority of their income off of Unknown Comics alone. Over the past 5 or 6 years. Unknown Comics is really known for their retailer exclusive game, which is also very interesting. And they've kind of had the biggest pull from me is him talking about how the retailer exclusive game has really changed, and that has been a big topic for us as of recently. This took a lot of courage, and I got to give him that for putting this out there, for making it public. He put it out there for everybody to see, and he seemed to be honest on a lot of it. I haven't talked to you guys since about this since last episode. Since we've been a week out, what are some of your guys' thoughts on this whole thing since it's happened?
Well, I just want to say I saw Darren in person in Japan. He was at Star Wars Celebration. I walked right up to him, gave him a big handshake, said, "How's it going?" Blah, blah, blah. The Darren I saw a month and a half ago did not look like this Darren. He's gone through a lot of stuff in a month and a half before he made this video.
Yeah.
I'd say he aged 5 years in that 6 weeks. I feel for him, man. In this video, he talks a lot about spending time with his family. I just always try to bring it around to the Gary Reed rules, the 10 rules. And, you have to put things in perspective. If anybody was close to conquering the comic book world, it was Darren Hutchinson. What else did you need, man? I drooled over that giant wall of books that he had, variants for these shows. I'm like, holy hell, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. Oh my God. But at what cost? When I stepped away, when I had my heart attack and I stepped away 8 years ago, I've had the greatest 8 years with my family and don't even question whether or not I did the right decision. I think Darren's having that come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, in a big way. You can tell he's stressed. You can tell the way he talked about spending more time with his family and friends. That's a big part of it. The game has changed, man. The game has changed so quickly in the last couple of years, from where Unknown Comics on the top of the world to being strapped. And one of the things that he talks about that I found very interesting, that not only he talked about, but also Sean Hudachko talked about, were these working capital loans and how they can be absolute game changers, positive and negative. And I would love to hear your guys' take on how these working capital loans, if you don't mind, would one of you guys explain to our viewers what working capital loans are and how they work?
So
Oh, go ahead.
You want me to do it, or you
Go
want
ahead.
to do it?
Go ahead.
Jesse.
Okay. Yeah. So working capital is basically what happens is you are establishing your company through PayPal, through Square for a year, 6 months, and you're accruing how much value your company has in sales towards, we'll use Square. So what Square does after a year, 6 months, whatever that time frame is, they turn around, they say, listen, we project that you're going to do XYZ. So we're going to do this bet. And the bet is we're going to invest with you $110,000 to your company. And we're going to give you that $110,000. And the way we want to get paid back is in these steps. 7% of your sales, 10% of your sales, 16% of your sales. I believe 25% is the highest they can take out of your sales. So you then get this 110,000. They're then bet that you're then invest correctly, and in return, every sale you get, they're going to take out 25%. So the good person who knows what they're doing gets the working capital and they're investing. They're not even paying attention to those withdrawals. Why? Because they're paying off that loan. And as you pay off that loan, once you get to 50%, you can now actually get capital money, right?
Well, you can also refinance it.
Refinance it, whatever you want to do, right? So you get to that 50%. This is common practice since about 2010 when PayPal working capital started.
Can I add something to that though,
Sure.
Jesse?
Sure.
One of the things that when you apply for one of these is why are you buying or getting this loan? Increase inventory, hire more employees, get a bigger space.
Sure.
You know, they ask you to select one of these things. I don't necessarily think that I remember. I don't think pay off a whole bunch of debt that I don't have the money to pay off is one of those options.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So working capital is a good thing, and it's a big advantage for companies that know how to do checks and balances and know how to sell more. And that's the job, is to sell more so you get more working capital. The problem is there are companies out there that get working capital from Square, Shopify, PayPal, and it's this non-stop. And when you get strapped and you haven't spent that money wisely to pay off your debt or get more sales to pay off your debt, now you're looking at every dollar saying, well, crap, I'm only getting 75 cents.
Well, it's worse. If you're running 75% off sales and you're selling $100, you got 25. And if they take 15 to 25% of that, you're getting 15. And if you're throwing free shipping on there, you're making $5 on that sale to pay Peter.
And here's the thing. If you get 50% off at wholesale, so you get 50% off, now you have to add the 25%.
Right.
Right. So now every time you sell that product, you're only getting 25%. So this is about proper management. Most people that talk negative about working capital got screwed themselves.
Yeah.
It's very rare that working capital is a negative against a business unless you screw yourself.
I want to play something. I want to play something real quick before you answer that, Emmett, because I think your comment is going to make sense more after I play this. A big shout out to Sean Hudachko for breaking down this, how his working capital. Now, this surprised the hell out of me, and this is where I gained a lot of respect for Sean. Check this out.
Creative. We were still partnering with a lot of guys doing exclusive still, but the mainstay of everything became publishing my own comics. Anyway.
And so we've just been plugging along and, through bad partnerships and lack of money, and then the sales declining over.
I'd love to know what he considers a bad partnership. I'd love to hear his definition of a bad partnership. Anyway, here we go. Showing you some numbers. Oh, what's happening? Sean is showing numbers, real numbers. Okay, this is our working capital loan history. I can't see it, but I'm going to show you this because I like being honest and transparent. I don't know if you can see this or not. There's a lot of chats on there. Anyway, it starts down here, $2,300 in May of 2018, our very first one that we ever had. August 2018, $1,600. February 2019, $5,600. Hold on to your britches, ladies and gentlemen. November 16th, $85,000. May 21st, $201,000. October 10th, 2021, $432,000. Got that paid off. Guess what? We took another one. I was in a trap cycle right here, right? I barely paid this one off, the $432,000, and we were making money hand over fist. $452,000. $452,000. Then I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. Let's stop. I took a $66,000 one in May of 2023. Those ones that were completed, sorry. But that was it for a while. Then I wanted to open up I wanted to buy a printer so I could print my own comic books because we do so many comics. Then I took this $263,000 one. But it was for a purpose, right? It was for a reason. I wanted to start another business. It wasn't just to buy product. It wasn't to buy product that I didn't know if it was going to sell or not. He covers this in a little bit. He talks about how doing exclusives is gambling. Okay, well, doing exclusives is gambling. Don't borrow money to gamble with, sir. Just saying. Lessons, learn your lessons, right? Don't make the same mistakes. And then I had another one for $158,000 paid off. I currently have another one. I owe $51,000. Repayment 16%. So they take 16% of every sale that I make. That's how working capital loans work. Ray Kong said it perfect right there. 16% of everything that comes in, right? 16%.
Absolutely unreal. And that took a lot for him to break that down. I mean, could you imagine taking two $200,000 loans back to back, then a $400,000 loan, then another $400,000? Like, that is so much money. It's unfathomable to me that that you just get caught up in those cycles of, okay.
Well, you need the next one to pay the last one.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead. Emmett, you were going to say something?
Oh, what I was going to say is that the best way to run debt is only borrow what you have.
Well, and the
So
thing
if
that
I have
Sean,
a cash flow of $50,000, take their money, gamble their money, not your house money, right? You gamble the money of the banks, right? And then if you have that cash, you keep your cash. That's the only way I gamble with banks' money. Is if I don't borrow more than I have.
So another thing that isn't mentioned by Sean or by Jesse is when you borrow that, like that 200, I think, like just call it 200,000. That borrow is actually not how much you get necessarily. They tack on the percent owed as part of the loan. So if you borrow 150 at 20, and it's usually like 20% what they give you, they tack that and you're actually borrowing 180,000. The 150 principal plus the 20,000, and then that 16% per transaction comes out of the 180 that you borrowed. The interest is already baked in. So, if you pay it all off in a month, let's just say you have a windfall and you have the 180, you're still paying 20% interest on that 150.
Yeah, it's front loaded.
It's front loaded. So even if you want to make the debt go away, you're still paying the interest, whether you spread it out over the 9 months or a year that they give you.
It's not annualized. Yeah.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And so cost of doing business, and you have to make that decision.
Yep.
Now, the interesting thing is, here's where the point Sean was making versus what Darren had stated. Darren had stated he had all these working capitals. Sean was saying, here's my one working capital. I paid it off. Then I got this one. Then I paid it off and I got this one. Then I paid it. If you're going to do working capital, that's how you're supposed to
100%.
do it. Right. And so his process of using one and not three at the same time is what I think he was trying to get across. Now, he did say something that's kind of a double standard. Don't get a loan to buy variants because that's not, or exclusives because that's not a good investment, yet I bought a printer to make exclusives. So there's some word on play there a little bit. Whatever loan you get, just have a plan. That's what you have to do. You have to have a plan. Listen, most people get loans because they need the money. So we can't fault people for making decisions to get loans because they need the money.
Right.
And some people, that's the only way they're going to get to next week. So that's interesting. Now, there is a part that was skipped there that Darren had said is, because if you watch the video, and I'm not going to pounce on Darren, I like him, he's a good guy and all that, but Darren started off with the word partner. And at that point, when Sean brings it up, he changes from partner to partners. And that becomes the issue.
Let's
right?
talk about that and how that works with retailer exclusive, because one of the things that Darren talks about is how there's these groups behind the scenes where you have all these retailers that create these groups where they split these retailer exclusives.
Yep.
Now, I'll be honest, from the outside looking in, all I see is trouble in those groups, because you have situations where one guy sells before the other guys and causes a bunch of problem. You have some guys that, you know, are in the group and say, I don't want to be part of this. Well, you're in the group to be part of it. You know, these groups seem like not only do they cause problems, they cause enemies. And one of the things that Darren brings up constantly in this State of the Union about Unknown Comics is how there are retailers out there, specifically one in general, and I'll say it because I'm not a big fan of that retailer, 616 Comics, who has just, you know, become this enemy of Unknown Comics and is constantly throwing Unknown Comics under the bus. Well, this is what happens in this industry over and over. You think that people are your friends and these relationships are made overnight. Listen, friendly relationships take time. Relationships aren't made over 6 weeks, 6 months. They're made over years. And there's a lot of guys that become friends with other retailers and it turns into this nightmare. And that's one of the things that I hear over and over, especially when I do things like the drama alert segment and all that stuff. There are names that come up over and over and over. And there are guys that cannot play well with others. They're just inept at it. And these groups, I feel like, cause these problems.
100% agree. It takes a long time to build up enough type of trust where I'm going to do something on a handshake over a Facebook group and expect to get my books on the same time you're getting your books, and that you don't have it, you know, you're not trying to figure out your advantage in business, because then we're at direct compete, right? I say most comic stores don't compete with each other. We're all so very different. But once you get into this variant game and you're all getting the books, the same covers, you're all in direct competition. And that starts getting animosity and bad blood. You get stuck with yours and the other guy sells out and he's calling it a sellout. And you're like, oh, I got some. And you can't get rid of your books for $10 and he got 60 for his. And it's just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also,
go ahead.
It goes back to what I've been telling Brian. There's too many damn middlemen in this business. And these middlemen, they get on the belly of somebody like Darren, like parasites on a shark, you know, waiting for the scraps that they can get. And he trusted those people. He relied on those people. And middlemen have no skin in the game. Emmett's got skin in the game. Jesse's got skin in the game. I still, even though I don't buy new books, I still got skin in the game. You know, when you bring in a whole lot of these guys that are like, oh, I want to partner with you. I want to partner with you. They're the first ones to dump your product and kill your name when they need to make their nut.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very plain and simple. And I will say this every time I do an exclusive. If you can't afford the exclusive and you got to partner up with someone, don't do the exclusive. This is not a game where you're in the hole even before you start. It makes no freaking sense that I would put my brand and risk my brand having 20 other people selling that book. It makes no, it doesn't make business sense. It doesn't make financial sense. It doesn't make sense for the consumer who wants to buy your exclusive, not a mumbo jumbo of people. If you can't afford it, don't freaking do it. It's plain and simple. I saw a company yesterday or day before. Oh, I'm looking for people to partner up with exclusives. Dude, we won't see this guy 6 months from now. When we talk about building relationships, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about financial relationships. We're talking about friend relationships, business relationships. But when it gets to exclusives, do it yourself. If you can't afford it, find one you can afford. You also have to be willing to lose money by doing it by yourself. And if you can't afford to lose money, don't do it. Right? It's a plain and simple thing. Yeah. It's like what's the one guy saying? He's a big, heavy set guy, and he said the best advice someone ever told him, and the guy told him, write it down. This is very important that you know this. Okay, here's the best advice you ever get. If you see food, don't eat it. Right? This is the same thing with the exclusive world. I don't get this. I get it if you're a brand new person, you don't know anybody, but you know what? You need to build your brand. Why would you be the bottom guy building a brand for someone else, paying for his exclusive?
Well,
having zero to do with it, it doesn't make sense.
It's a pyramid scheme. That's a lot of these group buys and stuff. It's a pyramid scheme. A lot of these publishers. I mean, look, I'm not saying that about Vault per se, but they needed to get more people at the bottom of the pyramid, so they printed 3,000 extra boxes. You know, you have to look at this stuff and go, is this a pyramid scheme? Am I coming under somebody else because they need to make more money? If this was such a good variant, why can't you sell all 3,000 units yourself?
Yeah.
And if a company decides to do it, I see the message on this company does XYZ, that's fine. But at the end of the day, you need to be able to control your brand, and you can't control your brand if 3 other people are screwing it up for you.
Yep.
Right? And that's the thing. It bugs me, right?
Another
and
thing
it's not like go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. I apologize. Another thing that I want to talk about is something that Darren brought up in this State of the Union about Unknown Comics. He talked about his warehouse. He said he has a warehouse of 4 million books and that he's banking on having that warehouse to keep him afloat. He's saying he's selling, he's making 1,000 sales a week, or did he say 1,000 sales, or he's shipping 1,000 products a week?
1,000 sales. He's selling 1,000 items a week.
Yeah. So he has this warehouse of 4 million comics. Now, here's something that's very interesting to me. If you guys don't think that these other warehouses are out there, you're sadly mistaken. There are warehouses out there full of books, and not only books that you might think are common. I'm talking ratio variants. Think of all the retailer exclusive that Unknown Comics has done over the years that are these big books, these big number 1 books that have 1 in 25s, 1 in 50s, 1 in 200s, 1 in 250s, 1 in 500s, 1 in 1000s. They have all those ratios sitting in a warehouse of unopened diamond boxes of those variants. And they're going to count on that warehouse making up the extra money for them. Now, what are they going to do with that warehouse of 4 million books? Are they going to do 90% off sales? Are they going to do 50% off sales? Is that going to tank the market on certain books? And this is the thing that I find very interesting, because we've had a ton of retailers reach out to us to talk about warehouses, how you deal with them, how you organize them. And Darren was very vocal about how they need to organize their warehouse. This is something that I think we really need to key in on over the future of how you handle these warehouses. What were your guys' thoughts on his comments about his warehouse?
He's going to dump those
I'll
books.
go first. I have an out of control warehouse. I've got 12,500 square feet. If you asked me to find a specific thing, more than likely, if it's a comic book, no clue where it's at. I've got probably 1 million comic books. I can't count how many boxes are all stacked over in Theater 1. I know roughly how many are in Theater 2, and I know roughly how many are in Theater 3 in Amazon inventory. I couldn't tell you where anything is if I don't have my Amazon, if it's not in Amazon inventory. Yeah, it gets out of hand. It gets out of control. Just this month, I am doing something that I won't tell everybody about just yet, but I had to organize 200 banger comic books to submit. And I was like, oh God, okay, I got this box. Oh, I got this box. I found like 300 books that I wanted to grade. I had to whittle that down to 200. You know, and because I've got to, and guess what? I looked at the last minute. I found 5 more just sitting in a stack in the wrong part of the warehouse. You know, Jesse was talking about, what's it? 4 Kids Walk in a Bank. You know, they're filming that TV show now. I just happened to come across 25 copies of it sitting in a box while I was looking for this other stuff. Okay, fine. Now I can put that somewhere, but I'll probably lose it before.
Exactly.
I'm Dennis. I'm sorry. I have 10 copies of Uncanny 266. Okay. I mean, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
But it's also a problem that I had to look for a month and found 10 copies.
Yeah, that should have been sold during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Or Deadpool Wolverine, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yep. I think that was a bad example. And this is why it's a bad example.
Me?
Yes, you're a bad.
Oh.
You just gave a horrible, horrible example.
Okay, sorry.
Right? Because you don't have to sell anything out of your warehouse.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So you don't have to sell 4 million books to hopefully break even. Right? So if I walk into Dennis's place and Dennis says, hey, come take a look at the back and let me know if you see anything. And I walk out and, well, I didn't see anything. Dennis is going to say, well, doesn't affect me one bit. Right?
Right.
So that's why it was a bad example. In Darren's case, he doesn't know what he has. You can say you got this and you got that. Okay, well, first of all, they have to open up the box. And then how are you going to sell it? If someone is in a position like the video that we watched, he doesn't care if he tanks the market. That's immaterial to him. What he wants is quality of life, time to spend with his family, take care of his team members, and hopefully go forward in this business. If you read it, or if you watched it, his concern isn't going forward in the business. It's paying the bills, not declaring bankruptcy, and the quality of life. So warehousing is very, very interesting. Your warehouse is only important when you need to sell something.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because in 2012, I had to get much lighter. I had 250,000 comic books sitting in a storage facility, and the guy who owned the storage facility was like, "Hey, I'm retiring. You got to find a place to put these." I'm like, "Oh shit." It was a really sweetheart deal, like $150 storing 25 pallets. And I put it out for sale. And I ended up selling it to Midtown Comics. and they were show stock and all this stuff, and it was all stuff I didn't need, tons of stuff. And Mighty Mel V was at the Midtown warehouses and said those long boxes that I sold Midtown at that time 10 years before were all still sitting there with Wonderworld's end caps on the long boxes. I mean, if you don't need to sell it and you're Midtown and you just want to buy inventory and you're going to cash in on that inventory some other time, buy it, put it somewhere. But if you need the money, you need to start going through it and you need to start selling it.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's no award in our industry for most books in the warehouse.
No. Great point.
Right?
Great fucking point.
So, again, I say this all the time, the world I come from, you never brag to the owner about how much stuff you in the warehouse, right? Because you're getting your ass fired, right? And so in our industry, it's like, oh my gosh, I got 1,000 long, I got a ton of toys, and I got this, and you're sitting there saying, yeah, but that doesn't matter.
Well, I got a bigger problem, and this is more of a cautionary tale. So I approved this system with my accountant. It's all completely covered. 1 million comic books I buy at an average of 10 cents a book. I get to declare at the end of the year all those books that are just sitting in there at 10 cents a piece, because that's what the predominance was purchased at. Sometimes 5 cents, but on average, we call every book 10 cents a piece. Darren's 4 million comic books weren't purchased at 10 cents a piece.
No.
They were purchased at minimum of $3 a piece.
Oh.
That's $12 million worth of inventory that at the end of the year, the IRS is going to demand tax on $12 million.
Yep.
There's no way around that. Your invoices all say $3 a book times X. I don't know how you reconcile that by the end of the year, personally.
Yeah. So
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough position to be in. Brian is right. It's very unique for a store owner to come out and tell the public the situation he is in. Now, for some people, getting that monkey off the back and not letting, because his whole point at the beginning was, this guy saying, I'm going out of business. I'm letting you folks know that I'm not going out of business. That hurts that business when someone says they're going out of business.
Yeah.
Big time.
Right.
Because it starts
on the
rumors,
show,
it starts even
Your
more
subscribers, your subscribers stop paying.
Yep.
People stop showing up because they don't know what day you're going to.
And here's the sad part about that. Darren is not the first retailer I've heard say this about the retailer that's saying this. I've had so many people reach out to me over the last, year and a half saying the same thing. And again, this goes back to how important your reputation is behind the scenes. And people don't realize that. There's a lot of these so-called, new jack flippers in the retailer game that are new to this industry, that are new to how things work, and they don't realize how important their reputation is behind the scenes. And yeah, you could be putting out 5 retailer exclusives. You could have one of the hottest artists in Will Jack doing, and Cedric Pouliot, or not Will Jack, and Cedric Pouliot doing your variants. How long is that going to last until your reputation causes you to lose out on con tables, exclusives at some big publisher, whatever it is? That's a problem. And people don't realize that. And it's very sad because they don't realize it until it's too late.
Right. Exactly.
When you have a bad reputation, when you begin to sink, people just send water your way.
Great point.
All of your enemies that have been circling you start sharpening their knives and come in.
Yep.
and because the blood is in the water and they smell it like sharks.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it's very, very interesting. I mean, we could talk about Mal High having 10 million comics in stock, and you can go through this. You know, is someone who's selling a lot of books? Is 1,000 books a lot a week? I don't know. You know, it depends on the company. But what I think is more important is when you speak to your customer base, there are some etiquettes that you need to take into consideration. Forget about Darren's video. That's immaterial to what I'm going to talk about. It's very important that you have taken a shower, right? It's if you have a beard, that your beard is a little bit nice, right? Your hair is nice. One thing I will talk about that video: never sit behind a white background. All right. You never want to shoot a hostage video.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's, everybody's looking at this perception when you speak publicly, looking in the camera. You should never look off, never look down, never look up. Don't be touching your nose every 5 minutes. There's certain ways to speak to the public. And I think if you want to get your point across, you need to follow some of these etiquettes. I think it's very important to have a list and topics of what you're going to talk about.
Well, it's not just that, Jesse, and it's what we talk about on this show. You're the representative of your brand.
Yep.
Your brand isn't just Dennis Barger, Wonder World Comics, even though that's what I put down here. Dennis Barger is the brand. Wonder World Comics is the company I'm representing. You have to, if you're going to do something this vocal, you should definitely realize, you know, you're asking people to trust you, then your company, and you're representing both at the exact same time. So you need to put your best foot forward and, you know, really come at that like, hey, this is what I want to talk to you about. This is, you know, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, and that's the goal. If you stand in front of someone, just imagine this, and they're selling you a car, but that whole time they're never looking at you. Do you really want to buy that car from them? All right. So if you are speaking in behalf of your brand, you know, Jesse James Comics, you have to understand that for people to, it's not even the consumer, the publisher, the partner at an artist that's watching you. They're like, why can't he look at me? Why can't she look at me when she's talking to me? That's very, very important. So I will tell people, if you're going to do a live video, look at the most basic standards of speaking live to people. And you will get your message across so much better with that person being focused on you. Because if you're talking to someone and you're looking at them, they don't want to look away, right? Because they're like, oh, I better not look away. So that's how you should be conducting your business. I think it's very, very important. You know, if we have a guest on the show and they're never looking at the screen, we probably don't want them on the screen again, because it is very important.
That was a perfect example. We had Ben Dunn on here, and Ben was, you know, every once in a while he'd turn away, but then there was that moment where he was like, oh, you guys are actually engaging. Okay, I'm going to talk to you. And he never looked away from that screen from that point on.
Right. So it's very important.
Amen. Amen. Couldn't agree more. All right.
So I do want to say one more thing about that, though. You should go to public in your time of need, and you should also go and to public to give hope. That's very, very important as business owners. Remember, your consumers, your customers, your friends at the store are coming to your store for comic book therapy. And our job is to provide them with that so that they can go on and enjoy their comic they just bought from you.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is very important is what what Dennis talks about very often is that Gary Reed.
Gary Reed. Yep.
Gary Reed, where sharing your information freely, that's very important in this industry. So, shout out to Darren for making that post. It was a big deal. It took a lot of courage, and we're rooting for you, man. We're really rooting for you over here. We don't want to see
everybody
any
loves a
retailer.
comeback.
Yes. Yes. So keep it up. We'd love to hear more from you. We'd love to hear the positive wins that are coming out of this. Keep this information coming, because transparency is so important these days. It will not only create more buyers, it'll create more people rooting for you. It just seems like the way to go. And, shout out to Unknown Comics.
And I think the benefit he has is we all know he's worked hard in the trenches. So this isn't John Doe coming in and 6 months later saying, "Oh my gosh." Well, no, this is someone, this is a brother in arms that has worked in the trenches, and he will get out of this. So.
And it's authenticity.
Yes.
The one thing, and I'm not going to throw, but there's publishers that a lot of people are asking a lot of questions about, and then they don't make any statements and they don't make any comments, and it just gets worse and worse. And Darren was starting to reach that level where people were like, oh God, people are talking about me. I mean, our chat, people were talking about him, on the show. Some people dropped his name, and I said, hey, he's not here to defend himself. Let's talk to him when we get a chance to talk to him. But coming out gives him the opportunity to tell his story.
Yep.
And set the record straight. And that's what I applauded as well.
Yes.
Amen. We're just talking about appearance and looking straight in the thing. And now I got to look at Emmett's chair while Dennis is telling the truth. I'm like, holy cow, dude, that chair has gone through war.
Actually,
I wasn't laughing at you, Dennis. So
I think that's a see-through chair, and that's like a big pile of paper and a soda on a shelf behind there that we've never seen before.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, exactly. So, anyways, yeah, exactly. So, if you want to go out to the public, like I said, follow some etiquette, and get your point across, and then what you got to do? You got to stop it, and then you got to go sell.
Yeah, work harder.
Sell. At the end of the day, this is what every person has ever told me in the history of me doing retail. Jesse, what solves that issue? What? Go sell. Sales solve everything.
Yep. Well, listen, you guys, we're almost at the 3-hour mark. It's been one of the best episodes I think we've had yet. Episode 68 of the Industry of Comics show. Next week, we're hoping that we're going to have Heidi McDonald on to talk about, everything that she's been following on the Diamond bankruptcy, which she's been really on point in what she's been reporting. So shout out to her. We also have some really great up and coming newer brick and mortar retail store owners that are going to be joining us. Shout out to Steven Fuentes at Most Wanted Comics, Lance over at High Score Comics, and Kevin over at Collector's Choice Comics. They're going to be joining us over the next month and a half. There are some really positive things that are going on in the industry of comics, and we really want to key in on those because it's been a tough couple months with the Diamond bankruptcy, the changing of how quickly changing the industry of comics is. So we'll key in on that. Listen, our retailers that are co-host on this show, Jesse is opening up a brand new store. Dennis is getting ready to opening up a brand new store. Emmett has it in his head to maybe do that. That's positive. That's all very positive. So we'll have a lot of information to talk about that. Before we finish the show, let's talk about, have you guys seen any great collections or pickups show up in the shop over the last week?
Go ahead.
I'll let you go first.
I'm looking around.
I don't have it with me.
Yeah.
Can you go to the go to my Facebook, Brian?
Yes.
Because this was a great little collection. Oh, I love that. That's literally probably my top 5 album of all time, Jesse. And not because I do Paradise by the Dashboard Light just as good as Meatloaf if I have a female, co-singer.
Right.
So I got this collection. It's sad. I'm sure Jesse and Emmett know what I'm about to say. We get to be the people who
real quick.
Timing.
A big
Perfect timing.
Great timing.
Yeah.
Perfect
Shout
timing.
out to our boy Alex Lodemeyer, who is one of the great supporters over here at the channel. He just dropped a $5 super chat. He says, "Great show, everyone. Always very informative." Thank you, Alex. You're one of the best, my friend.
So, Lady comes in, brings in 900 books. Her brother passed away right after her mother and father
Is this it?
both passed away. Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, this collection, I mean, guys, you know me, I'm not trying to be a dick, but this collection, it doesn't make my radar other than, what it was about. I love the Conans. I love, the books that I pulled out here and showcased. But her brother passed away. She's got all of this stuff that she has to deal with. The last thing, she took it to 2 other stores before me. And I was when I made her the offer, she told me what the other stores offered, and it was like disgusting to me. Those are the books that are, if you go back one there, Brian, out of 900 books, there's a long box and a quarter of a long box over against there. That's all the stuff on the ground that isn't the best of books. There's 2 stacks of like probably 300 books that I'll put on my wall for $2, 3 for $5, $5, 3 for 10, a giant stack of Conans, and then all of these books that I can kind of consider the key books out of the run. It was, I want to say I gave her $500 for everything, like almost 50 cents a book. There's no books in here that I'm going to flip for 500 just to get my money back. They're $10 books, $5 books, etc. It was all the world to her. She dragged the 900 crowd. You know what 3 long boxes is. She didn't have them in long boxes. She had them in 50 or 20 gallon totes.
Yep.
She's lugging 20 gallon totes with 900 books from store to store. One store offered her $50 for everything. And I offered her an extra $0 because I looked through everything and I'm like, okay, there's money I can make out of this. And the other store wouldn't even look at it. They flipped through and found like 5 or 6 books and they're like, yeah, there's nothing in here. You're wasting your time. When one of our own, and I'm going to get on a soapbox here. When one of our own, her brother, whoever this guy was, dude, he read all my favorite books. Somebody after I posted this, somebody was like, dude, I need those Spelljammers. I need that full set of Spelljammers. Can I have that? I sold that. I sold some of the other books. I sold one of the Conan books. I'm a couple $100 into that 500 now, but we owe it to the rest of our people when we lose one to give a good fucking offer. Right now, she doesn't think her brother was a loser that saddled her with $50 to $0 worth of crap. That's it. I just, this collection, these kind of collections mean more to me than a giant size X-Men 1 or a Hulk 181 or whatever. When I get a collection like that you can make a difference in somebody who had no interest in our world at all, but she got saddled with our crap.
Right.
What'd you get, Emmett?
So lady came in with a little bit of really early Silver Age, 10-cent Silver Age stuff, and got some Green Lantern, first appearance of Sinestro, and first cover and second appearance of Sinestro. So
Nice.
that was the rest of the stuff was, and it was really like a lot of work. It's crazy that the only really good book was this first Sinestro. All the rest had water damage,
Right, sure.
ripped pages. It was incredible. So it saved it for her. Like she ended up getting a pretty decent amount of money for she brought these in the grocery bags. The comic collection came in grocery bags.
Yeah.
So not quite tubs.
Right. So I'm going to let Brian tell me what I got here, because Brian is the only one that knows what I got and knows the info on this. So I finally got this framed.
Oh, wow. Star
85.
Michael Jordan's in that set.
Yeah, double card. So, Brian, what was the deal with this company?
So Star was the basically the original rookie cards of the 80s, early 80s rookies in the NBA. Fleer basketball. So Topps quit doing basketball cards 80-81. Fleer didn't pick it up until 86-87. A lot of people think 86-87 is the Michael Jordan rookie year, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Isaiah Thomas, all those, Clyde Drexler, all those guys, Karl Malone, but it's not. Star brand was doing these special packs of team sets from 84 till 86, where the original rookies of all these guys were in these Star sets. Some of them were overprinted. Some of them were, very, they did a lot of fakes in these sets. But the Star brand has the original Michael Jordan rookie, Clyde Drexler rookie, Hakeem Olajuwon rookie, Patrick Ewing rookie, all those rookies, and a bunch of great sets, including the NBA Slam Dunk contest sets, the Gatorade sets, some of the most important basketball cards in the 80s and in the history of basketball cards came from the Star brand. And they actually kind of, they went bankrupt in the late 80s due to overprinting and some other craziness. But those Star brand cards are very rare, especially the type Jesse has.
But they wouldn't be graded by PSA for a long period of time
until recently, the last 2 years.
The company was rumored to have run off extras of them way after 85, as well as the printing technique that they printed it from could be easily remanufactured even in the late 80s.
There's a lot of Gatorade fakes.
Right. So it's really hard to determine whether or not you had an authentic. I think somebody at PSA finally figured out what they could do to spot a fake, on a different level. They finally found the tell of what the original was. And so 2 years ago, they just started grading these.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, so has the Star card is finally moved above the Fleer Michael Jordan, right?
By multiple 10 times value. Yeah.
Which I find ridiculous because the 51 Bowman mantle has never come even close to the 52 Topps mantle.
It's because of rarity. So the rarity of the 84 Star Jordan is extremely rare compared to the 86-87 Fleer rookie. The rarity of the 53 Topps mantle is extremely rare compared to the 51 Bowman mantle. So
I've actually seen way more 52 mantles than I have 51. I had a 51, but
also there's the Bowman lovers and the Topps lovers.
Yeah, the Bowman card is also only right.
Yeah, it's smaller. Yeah,
it's very small.
Yep.
All right. Well, I have an announcement on my grand opening. So I have a special guest on June 27th for my grand opening. That is going to be Mark Spears. He's going to be at the store for 3 hours. So we're very excited about that. He's going to have a exclusive, not for me, but for himself at the store. You can only get this exclusive at the store. There's only 100 made of those. On the 28th, I debut my Lady Death exclusive, my Michael's exclusive, and my Big Dog Inc. exclusive. So we have a very busy month. We'll probably then soft open in about 7 to 8 days. So we're very excited about that. I have about 10 display cases I have to still make, and then I'm pretty much done. And here's where I effed up. I should have done a DIY on every single one.
No, where you fucked up was not getting 12-year-old kids and give them a screwdriver and ask them to build it.
And, well, just doing the bloopers on Heme, I built upside down. I just found out the reason why my glass cases don't match is they're opposite. I got the A on the B side and the B on the A side. And then on another one, I'm like, the magnet doesn't freaking work. It's not grabbing the case. Well, I put the cases on backwards. So I had the wood side on the metal and the metal side on the front side. So just having that. So I did learn a couple things there, but it's fun. I think it's exciting when you're doing it for a reason, right? So anyways, that's my announcement.
Amen.
And so I have decided that, I do stupid things, so I apologize in advance. I love Wonderworld as a company. Like I said, I'm Dennis Barger, Wonderworld Comics, as a company that sells comic books and Pokemon and toys. I love Dystopia. It's a completely different flavor. My kids and I decided that this third store should have its own entity. It should have its own different identity. I can't announce the name, but I think by next week I'll be able to announce the name. It's going to be the third IP in the Men in Black Collectibles franchise. And I'll announce it here on the show first.
It's not awesome. Digitali, is it?
No, Dirk Gitali.
Dirk Gitali, yeah. All right, you guys. And then finally, I have a couple of great things to announce. I want to tell everybody to go check out the new website, Beyond Wednesday's website, beyondwednesdays.store. You guys can go get all of the exclusive variants that we're going to be doing at Beyond Wednesdays over there, including the grommets number 7. We are sold out as of right now of the 1 in 25 of grommets number 7. I do have a couple extra that I have left that I'll be selling on my eBay live sale tomorrow on Thursday night. But if you guys want to get the 1 in 500 variant to number 7, that is the very first Beyond Wednesdays crew variant. It is available at Beyond Wednesdays website, beyondwednesdays.store. You guys can also check out the eBay store at that website, where I am adding graded books and cards, toys, unopened packs, crazy collectibles throughout the week. We're getting ready for San Diego Comic-Con, so I am putting up a ton of vintage apparel, vintage comics, graded comics, toys, variants, keys, all kinds of stuff on the eBay store and on the website. I will also be doing that live sale on Thursday night, where I have all kinds of Phoenix Comic-Con exclusives signed by people like Tahani Farr, and I've got a ton of Michael Turner and David Finch rare variants that I picked up for this sale. So come hang out with us, and more importantly, I might have some of these Battle Beast eBay Live comic pack trading packs. The second God pack has never been pulled, and multiple sketch covers have not been pulled. So these will be available to a select few that will be willing to pry them from me. I didn't want to sell them at first, but we may sell them depending on the offers we get. So that will be Thursday night at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern for the eBay live sale. We're getting ready for San Diego Comic-Con. We got a lot going on. We're, hopefully going to have up to 3 variants, Beyond Wednesday's variants at San Diego Comic-Con. And we're getting ready to announce a couple of those, including a G.I. Joe variant and a very special Harley Quinn Elvira variant. So come hang out with us tomorrow night, Beyond Wednesday's Wednesday night review, and then we'll have a bunch of great things for sale on the eBay live sale through Comic Book Shopping Network. We're going to be doing multiple sales a week on both eBay Live and Whatnot. So if you guys want to support Beyond Wednesday's San Diego Comic-Con trip this year and get some really cool product and, comics, toys, all kinds of stuff, we're going to have a special Walking Dead. I have an entire collection of Walking Dead. Everything but issue 1 will be available for sale, including all the McFarlane action figures, mint on card, a bunch of the blind bag action figures, and even more starting Sunday night on eBay Live. So come hang out with us. All the links are in the bio. BeyondWednesdays.store is the website. We'll see you there. And great show tonight, you guys. One of the best. We'll see you soon. Adios.